Tonight on the BP Supercars All-Stars E-Series, our star-spangled supercar drivers are loving racing life on the other side of the virtual Pacific. So, backed by driver demand, oval track racing was such a smash hit last time. This time round, they tackle the high banking at Michigan International Speedway for more side-by-side and nose-to-tail high-speed drafting. There's just 2 events to go. Shane Van Gisbergen has a 146-point lead with a lot of racing to come and a lot of points to score. It's all the regular stars plus drift sensation Mad Mike grabs a spot on the iRacing grid. That's tonight on the BP Supercars All-Stars E-Series.
Good evening, everyone. It's great to have you with us for round 9 of the BP Supercars All-Stars E-Series. This is the penultimate round of our E-Series Championship. Next week, we crown our winner. So tonight it is high stakes as we go oval racing. Alongside me for all the fun, it is a very good evening to Neil Crompton and Andrew Jones.
Hey, Jess.
Evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good to see you. Now, tonight it was driver's choice. We always had Michigan locked in as our first destination. We put it out to all the drivers to vote where they'd like to go for races 28 and 29. We're staying at Michigan. It was a resounding yes to oval racing, which should be some fun.
Backed by popular driver demand because, yes, last time out when they raced at Charlotte, it was so good. There was so much side-by-side action and lots of drafting, and we saw plenty of tear-ups. And stop and consider, 146 points, as I said there a few moments ago, in the gap to the lead. Shane keeps stacking on the wins, but a lot of racing to come. And I think what we're going to see tonight, Andrew, is going to be pretty exciting based on what we saw in qualifying and earlier on.
It certainly will be, and based on what we saw at Charlotte, the racing was brilliant. We always take a big deep breath when you put the vote out to this driver group, but I feel like this week they've done the right thing, and the racing's going to be terrific. You
said Crompo was smash hit in more ways than one. It should be pretty interesting to see exactly how it all unfolds, given that there's only 146 points between Shane Van Gisbergen, who took the lead just a couple of rounds ago, and Scott McLaughlin, who's pretty hot to take out this E-Series Championship.
Yeah, so here's the margins for everybody to focus on, and Shane's done an amazing job. Remember that Scott has led the majority of this BP Supercars All-Stars E-Series. Cam Waters, rock solid, consistent. You look at the numbers that he's achieved over the last several weeks, and in fact in the last 8 weeks, it's been unbelievable. And so still plugging away, and Anton's there as well. He's got a pile of pace. He's quick again tonight, as you'd expect, but we are in for a treat. I know this is going to be a screamathon. You can be guaranteed there's going to be some wild stuff tonight.
Indeed, and we've got a couple of really great names as our wild cards tonight, including Mad Mike. He is a New Zealand drifting sensation. He's on the line now for our Coopers live chat. Hey, Mike, great to have you on board tonight. What are you expecting with oval racing?
Oh, man, well, I'm a full rookie when it comes to circuit racing. I got to thank Tony Quinn. He's the only circuit racing I've actually done is in GT3s. But, yeah, this online racing is a lot of fun. It's very challenging. You can see my simulator here. I got a hydraulic handbrake. I got a heavy-duty clutch. It's usually set up for drifting. But, yeah, I'm just going to try stay out of the trouble being a wild card, try tag on and just have some fun.
Who are you looking forward to banging virtual doors with tonight?
Oh, of course, SVG. We've actually banged doors on the drift track all the time. So, yeah, it's just, but at the same time, just like I say, stay out of the carnage. We just had a bit of a race then, and I got taken out on the last corner on the last lap. So, yeah, but oval racing, I have driven on a few NASCAR tracks, but it usually, like I say, is drifting. We're judged on how close we can get to the wall. So hopefully there'll be none of me up there this race.
Well, hopefully it comes in handy in the virtual world tonight. Great to have you on board. As I said, have fun and good luck.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
All right, let's take a closer look now at the Michigan circuit, thanks to Logitech, with the one and only Neil Crompton, who's the only person who's actually been there in the flesh. Tell us about it, Crompo.
This is a great place for us to race this evening, Jess. So it is roughly an hour and a half to the southwest of Motown, Detroit in Michigan. Opened back in 1968, 2 mile oval, 3.2 kilometres in our language, and it is fast. It's got 18-degree banking. Top speeds here for a supercar are just on 300 kilometres an hour. We're riding in the Brute military strength car driven by Todd Hazelwood. They are averaging in the high 200s through these turns. And a quick story, I went there twice, early in the 90s for IndyCar testing and later on in the back end of the 90s for more IndyCar testing. And I stood on the wall up against that debris fence at turn 3, watched Alex Zanardi coming along in one of Chip Ganassi's IndyCars in the days where they had nearly 900 horsepower. Thing was doing nearly 400 kilometres an hour when it arrives, like an FA18. And the wave, the shock of the way in which the car went past, just the air behind the thing literally blew you off the fence. It's so fast. And the racing quality that we have here, typically in NASCAR, over the years has always been very, very good. So I'm expecting it's going to be a cool show tonight.
And no surprises then that every supercar driver put their hand up and said, let's go oval racing, because this is so new for us. So it should be a good show tonight. So Shane van Gisbergen took out the pole. He'll start from pole position tonight in our Armour All qualifying. And there's a fair bit of strategy that goes into qualifying at oval circuits, isn't there?
Yes, because it is hurting our Dunlop control tyre. So they're getting one decent lap and then there's a tapering in the grip performance. So the boys are telling me you can get through there flat when they're brand new, but you need a lot of cooperation. So you need to get some draft advantage. So they're working in groups to try and make sure that they can get the most out of each other. And the guy that did it best, I beg your pardon, was Shane van Gisbergen. And now he's got 7 Armour All poles. ADP Anton's got 7. And so those guys have just been the dominant force with 1 lap pace. And isn't it freaky that even on an oval track like this, that he still does that pace? Yeah. And he's now doing it in Australia. He's back from New Zealand, so he can't hide anymore. We're going to see him tonight, and he's back with his regular sim. There he is. There's the man, ready to go and do battle this evening. Indeed. We've missed that face, haven't we? Of course, we're edging closer to real racing resuming in the Virgin Australia Supercars Championship. That all kicks off on June 27th. Coming up next, though, it is time to go e-racing in Michigan as we head to a quick break. Let's take a closer look at Macaulay Jones's sim setup, thanks to Repco.
Hi, I'm Macaulay Jones from the Cool Drive Racing team, and this is my sim setup. I have a next level racing cockpit here, so it's fully adjustable, pretty much anything that I need, so I can adjust the steering wheel angle and everything. Hybrid racing simulators have helped us out with getting the SimuCube, direct drive steering wheel and HE pedals. I'm not going to try and explain what their real name is. I've got the triple screen set up, so just for trying to get the peripherals right, which is making a big difference for me and kind of just immerses you into the game even more. Pretty much got the Jinx setup shifter, which is pretty much identical to what we run in the supercar. It's obviously not quite as heavy because I'm not shifting through a gearbox, but it's very similar in the feel with a bias adjuster, which is new to me for this week, which is pretty exciting because just trying to get used to everything that's the same in the race car. So we want the feel as close as we can with all the things going on. So I've got the exact same dash as what we'd have in the race car as well. So the layout is even the same, which tells me your gears and all the information on the fly. So I'm excited to head to Michigan for this week for another oval. The racing is going to be awesome. It's going to be very tactical, and hopefully we can have some success in the Cool Drive racing team and the VJR team.
The BP Supercars All-Star E-Series is proudly brought to you by Shannon's, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.
Like Dad, I've always been a Ford man. The Falcon Squire wagon was unloved in 1964, but turns heads today. The Americans call them woodies, but the panelling, it's just fiberglass and plastic. But it's a passion that Shannon's understands, which is why my Fords are insured with Shannon's. And now, so's the home.
Call Shannon's on 13 46 46. Shannon's, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.
Hi, my name's Bert, and I'm a big fan of the supercars.
Huge damage!
It's my job to make sure everything's clean. It's pretty easy to keep things clean while the drivers are working from home. Oh, Rick, you're getting crumbs everywhere. It's a lot easier to clean things up in the E-Series.
Push of a button, he's back in pit lane.
Still, not as easy as keeping your engine clean using BP Ultimate.
Black Duck seat covers are bred for adventure. We're a family-owned company making Aussie-made seat covers. Our range of high-quality materials provide strength, performance and comfort. Perfect for all those Aussies who work hard and play harder. Black Duck seat covers can handle everyday adventures. Put them to the test. Get yours today from one of our trusted resellers nationwide or visit blackduck.com.au for more information.
Go.
When you need refueling fast, you can rely on Mrs. Max. Tasty, easy, speedy. If it's not a Mrs. Max, take it back.
The BP Supercars All-Star E-Series is proudly brought to you by Shannon's, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.
Just joining us, it's great to have you with us for round 9 of the BP Supercars All-Stars E-Series. Shane van Gisbergen will start from pole position for our next race in our E-Series. As we get ready to go racing, let's jump into the Hino Hub for all the vital stats for race 27 with Neil.
Michigan International Speedway, and this one first up is going to be 28 laps or 22 minutes time certainty, as I said before, 2 mile oval. That calculates out at about 3.2 kilometres. It's 4 turns with this oval-shaped track. They have their locked-in start fuel at 65 litres. You can see what they're burning and what's required. The transit through the lane, because there is a compulsory stop, is 22.5 odd seconds, plus 8 seconds for their tyres, a little over 30 seconds to get that job done. So 1 compulsory stop, 75 points to win this race. The weather is the same as always, and you can see what we think is the lap window here. Now, a word of warning, the tyres do degrade. We saw a lot of contact earlier on in the duels and in qualifying and indeed in practice. So, as I said just prior to the break, I expect to see a fairly wild ride when everybody goes racing. And remember, with the unique setup, with the way in which they ran through the duels, we've got an interesting lineup of various talents in different places on this grid, so it's going to be fun. Shane van Gisbergen back on deck in Queensland now, having made the trip back across the Tasman. Lee Holdsworth had a wild conclusion there earlier this evening. Anton De Pasquale, who continues in his quest to try and get up into the top 3 in the championship. He's sitting 4th at the moment. He's 300 points off the lead. Picking up on the truck assist starting grid, and remember that dual race number 1 determined the inside and therefore also the pole for Shane van Gisbergen, and dual race number 2 determined the outside. And what a ripping outfit and effort it was for Macaulay Jones. Full drive, well done. Position number 4 for him. Todd Hazelwood and Chaz Mostert, a very strong run as well. Jake Kostecki and Bryce Fullwood for Mobil 1 and Middies. Lee Holdsworth and Jordan Boys, who joins the group tonight from the Dunlop Super 2 Series. He's running 4th in the series after Adelaide, the 3 races down there. Jamie Whincup, followed by Cam Waters, Mr. Consistency. Michael Caruso is back in the group tonight, together with Zane Goddard, Scott Pye and Mark Winterbottom, who's been doing a bit of house painting in this off period. Gary Jacobson and Fabian Coulthard out of 17 and 18. Chris Pither for Coca-Cola Racing, and Aaron Seaton. Fabulous to see Aaron in the field, 21 years of age, son of a dual Australian touring car champion and the grandson of a Bathurst winner. Rick Kelly out of 23, Andre Heimgartner. They're in the Mustangs for Kelly Racing. Nick Percat again this evening's got the Corgas colours on the car. Will Davison's got some extra backing from Oran Park as well, and we'll talk a bit more about that later in the night. Alex Davison and David Reynolds. It was David who said to me earlier on that you can get round there flat, but not for long. Christian Lundgaard joins us together with Mad Mike and James Courtney, who spent a fair bit of time generating gravel rash when I was looking up at the monitor earlier this evening. That is the truck assist starting grid, getting set for it. Todd Hazelwood, very strong qualifying for him. He actually looked like he was genuinely puffed at the end of it, and great racing as well. Macaulay Jones, haven't quite figured out the hoodie, the Ugg boots and the shorts. Andrew Jones, it's an odd combination. What part's hot and what part's cold?
Yeah, I'm not really too sure. It always quizzes me, and I'm curious about it as well. One thing we do know is his feet would have been toasty with those Ugg boots on. How much do you reckon the King of Keilor or Brad Jones was screaming in the background before when he actually qualified pretty well on an oval track? Do you reckon it
brought back memories of his once grand career that he loves to remind everybody of.
Loud enough that we could hear him all the way up here in Sydney, that's for sure. He would have been screaming the place down and jumping like a very happy monkey at feeding time at the zoo, no doubt. And I can say that lovingly.
Yeah, you can.
His family.
So we've got Shane Van Gisbergen and Anton up on the sharp end of the grid here together with Scotty McLaughlin and Macaulay Jones. The draft is going to play a huge part in this, so you need to get ideally positioned behind another car. The side draft is going to be a very big part of this. And remember, these cars have got a frozen setup, and they've had that throughout the BP Supercars All-Stars E-Series. So they're not set up as oval track racing cars where normally it's a unique setup with stagger in the cars. They're designed to be able to turn left. There's none of that going on. I wouldn't want to be a virtual right front tyre.
No, definitely not. And that right front tyre is going to be the catalyst for the time drop-off and the tyre degradation at this event. So for me, Neil, with the research I've done and looking at a little bit of pre-planning information, I'd expect most people to be looking to pit around about lap 10. They'll have about a half a second tyre degradation deficit by that stage compared to lap 1. So the other key part of this is stopping at the right point so you can run with the group.
Green flag, and we are racing at Michigan International Speedway with Shane Van Gisbergen hotly pursued by Scott McLaughlin. Anton Di Pasquale straight into position number 3, and let the games begin. They are 3 and 4 wide through turns 1 and now 2. McLaughlin up on the outside, who's already had some oval track success so far in 2020 in the IndyCar E-Series. Look at Di Pasquale up on the outside. He has had a blast round everybody. 300 kilometres per hour in virtual terms, and he may well sweep into the lead with the sort of pace he's showing.
Just shows the amount of confidence he's got racing this virtual race car, doesn't it? To be able to go around the outside of Todd Hazelwood, commit to the throttle like that. Oh, speaking of Todd Hazelwood, he's up into the fence.
And Jake Kostecki. So I saw a couple of these shunts earlier on, and I saw one car, looked like it was virtually 200 metres up in the air and jumped into the pit lane. So you'll see some radical shunts tonight based on some of the stuff that was going on earlier. So it's McLaughlin who actually ended up breaking the draft. He's now got Di Pasquale in, tucked right in underneath him as we have a look at this BP Ultimate replay. See what happened here to Todd. It's Jake Kostecki in the dark car in the middle of the track. They bump, and then there might have been a return of serve there. So Jake and Todd make violent contact, and then they play skittles with a bunch of cars.
So let's see if we can pick it up here on that previous replay. Now, it looked like the back of Todd's car got a bit loose on his own. He tried to hold on to it, and then this melee and mess ensued off the back.
What about Mostert? Was that Mostert? Because he got torpedoed. He's dead set. I think he actually, because there's no damage, I think he's landed it and pressed on.
Are you thinking those clouds in the sky are one of those is Mostert still up there circulating?
So McLaughlin from Di Pasquale. You're going to have your eyes up here, folks, because it's all going on. That's Chris Pither in the Coke car, wadding up that Coke can pretty good. And David Reynolds was the other car involved there for Penrite and Erebus Motorsport. Macaulay Jones trying to make a move now on Shane Van Gisbergen. So now they'll start to feel a lot more movement. It'll be a delicate dance of the throttle and steering inputs to make sure that they don't upset the cars. It's a multiple line racetrack. Macaulay Jones is 4th, then Lee Holdsworth, who's been quick in recent weeks. He was fast again last week. Lee Holdsworth from Zane Goddard, Cam Waters, Jordan Boys inside the top 10. That's an excellent run for him. He's actually just lost a couple of spots though. And with this pack racing, they're starting to tighten up once more. Down the inside comes Macaulay, puts a move on Shane, and that brings him up into 3rd spot.
So if anybody's wondering at home, is this just flat to the floor with the right foot on the throttle and just turn the steering wheel? Can you hold the car low? Well, we were just on board with Shane Van Gisbergen there. Macaulay Jones having a massive slide on the inside. And this is another big one. It's not a case of, are we going to see big ones on these style of circuits of super speedways? It's a case of how many are we going to see?
I just blinked, looked the wrong direction, and I looked up and there's about 6 cars heading in all different directions. So Macca recovering. Shane Van Gisbergen was involved in that, so he's come out of the lead group. And he's now in behind Jack LeBrock. Jack is 12th, Shane's 13th. BP Ultimate replay. See if you can unravel this ball of string.
So we'll keep an eye on the Cool Drive car there. Look at the slide that he's got going on. Huge amount of opposite lock. Couldn't hold on to it. This is Jordan Boys. He's doing his best angle grinder impersonation down the wall there with plenty of sparks coming off his car.
So here's the other angle. Macca gets loose, tags Shane, turns him, straightens him up, tags him again. That gets Lee. And then after that, there's cars everywhere. Cam Waters, Mark Winterbottom, Rick Kelly, Nick Percat. Meantime, McLaughlin leads from De Pasquale. Holdsworth's now up in third. He's got a bit of fresh air around him at the moment. Have a look at Anton under the rear wing of the race leader. Jordan Boys is up in fourth place. He's up 6 spots from his qualifying position. Then it's Bryce Fullwood, Fabian Coulthard, Will Davis and Aaron Seaton in the Repco entry for Dick Johnson Racing Team. Penske is having a great run in 8th place. And behind him is Andre Heimgartner and Zane Goddard. That's the 10. It's ever changing.
So we just saw James Courtney there, third car on the road, but our timing screen is telling us that he's actually down a lap at the moment, so that's not for position with James in that leading group. Now, the really interesting bit here for me, Neil, is all those guys that have just been involved in big accidents, the smart play would be to all actually group together. We know that they can go faster in a pack using that draft situation and let those guys that are just 2 or 3 cars out in front actually run slower.
Great battle going on here between Jordan Boys, bottom right-hand corner of the screen. He's in 4th, up 6 spots, and Bryce Fullwood, who's up 3 spots in the Mobil 1 Middies entry. There they are, side by side. Jordan's 22 years of age, from your neck of the woods, Andrew, in Albury. Last couple of years have been pretty strong in the Dunlop Super 2 Series, and he got off to a good start this year in Adelaide in those 3 races, 4th, 6th and 4th. So we go back to the battle for the lead. McLaughlin over De Pasquale. There is nothing in it. It is a cigarette paper between these 2 virtual race cars.
And while everybody else is ending up in the fence and making massive contact with each other, these 2 are the class of the field at the moment. They've spent the last 4 laps literally tied to each other like this. And that takes a lot of confidence and a lot of knowledge in your racing to be able to do that from De Pasquale.
Actually just put a move down low at the bottom of the circuit that's been good enough to actually sneak him up on the computer timing here to the lead. So Holdsworth in truck assist entry is a real threat to these guys as well, and he's out in his own air there. That onboard shot was interesting for me because it gives us a bit of an idea as to how much throttle they can carry. We might stay with this and just listen and have a look at the way in which they're driving these cars. Stay with us and crank this up. Actually getting a bit more pace out of it with the benefit of the draft. It's about 3 or 4 Ks quicker. That was a lucky moment 30 odd seconds ago for Lee, because he went within a whisker of tagging that wall. He had so much push going in there and he stayed with it. The Pertec pit reporters are all over it. They're watching. There's been plenty of stuff to watch tonight, Chad.
Yeah, you're not kidding. The Armour All qualifying duels in particular were really exciting. Interesting little battle pack, this one, Jonathan, that we're seeing at the moment. These guys aren't really racing each other that hard, and what they're doing is working together to put a bit of a gap on the field. I guess it's easier to fight 1 or 2 guys than 20.
And at the moment, when we look at the timing screens, your leaders are running high 40s. I almost said 1 minute there. The lap's so quick around here. And Shane Van Gisbergen, after his spin, is running mid-40s. So he's actually catching this group. And the interesting part is, Chad, if their spotters are talking to each other, you want to pit at the same time. You don't want to run on your own without the draft. And you can see Gizzy here, no traffic in front of him, no aero wash, and it's the quickest way to get him back in the pack for a race win.
Yeah, so we're not too far away here, guys, from that pit stop window opening and the leaders pitting, but how do they try and pit together? Can those spotters link up? There are open communication channels between everybody, but at the moment, Anton and Scott aren't on the same channels. They're not talking to each other. They're going to try and coordinate when they're going to come into the pits. Also, a couple movers and shakers. Fabian Coulthard up 13 spots now to 5th. He's having a great run working the inside of Jordan Boys. And Christian Lundgaard up 15 spots to be in the mid-pack at the moment. So great start to the wild card tonight.
And Lee just rubbed the wall a little bit in the background there as well. Thanks for the update, boys.
Pertec pit report from Melbourne. We'll have a look at the BP Ultimate replay. You can see what happened to Lee. So he got up very high into the grade and just tags the safer barrier and then grinds a few sparks and gets back down alongside Bryce forward. McLaughlin, Di Pasquale forward now in third. Jordan Boys, Lee Holdsworth lost some ground. Fabian Coulthard, Andre Heimgartner. We had a shot in the background before also of Aaron Seaton in the Repco car. Running car number 66 this evening. Remember that Repco were part of the Jack Brabham World Championship back in '66 and a huge part of the support and the big story around the triple world champion, the late, great Sir Jack Brabham.
This leading group, Lee Holdsworth is the guy for me at the moment that is pushing harder than anybody else. He's threatened over the course of the last couple of laps, and when we rode on board with him to understeer up into the fence, he's actually delivered on that promise, or what looked like a bit of promise, and it's hurt him a little bit here. When we were riding on board with Lee, you could see what Di Pasquale was doing, and he actually had, and he's really understanding the benefit of the toe and what advantage that is giving him. But you could hear him also coming out of the throttle so that he would just sit in behind Scott and see what his car behaves like to get a run, no doubt, for later in the race.
I'd love to see some of the footwork as well, because there'll be a little bit of left foot braking involved in some of that and just trying to keep the cars as stable as they can, drag a bit of the brake, keep the throttle angle up. Fastest lap of the race so far is Fabian Coulthard. He's done 39.6. But just keeping an eye on Shane Van Gisbergen, who's continuing to claw back. His last lap was the quickest of this group by a chunk. So he did a 40.3, and McLaughlin's time on the last lap was a 40.8, and mirrored by Anton, obviously, because he's literally hooked on him at the moment.
We're just seeing Bryce Fullwood here in the Motor 1 with his racing entry deal himself into this battle pack for the lead. Now, if we cast our mind back 2 weeks ago, he almost looked like he was about to steal the win at Charlotte. So we know he's very comfortable in this style of racing and is able to use the draft effectively, run towards the front of the field. This is some smart racing from young Bryce.
And looking at those results from Charlotte, we only did the single race there before we moved on to Daytona, but Shane Van Gisbergen was the winner over Cam Waters, and Fabian Coulthard well on the podium there as well. The Dick Johnson Racing Team, Penske and Shell V-Power Racing. So Shane's still sitting in 9th at the moment. Will Davison just moved up a spot on Andre Heimgartner, and that's the spread. They're running in twilight conditions, so not the usual full-blown daylight, hence the headlights are on.
I made the bold prediction at the top of this race, Neil, that lap 10 would be our window for pit stops, and we are now a long way past that. So my race strategy goes out the window and all credibility right about this point, but I'm surprised at how long these guys are running, but I can't help but feel like the first to blink, everybody's going to follow.
And that's Van Gisbergen making another spot. He's not quite done yet, though, is he? He's got Will Davison up on the outside, the Doric entry, and Will's giving Andre Heimgartner and the Ned Racing Mustang a little bit of hurry up. So this is the back end of the top 10. Wilbur lost a little bit of ground out of that one. I said earlier at the top of the show, he's got some support from the Perich family, the owners of what was the great Forum Park Racing Complex, which is now a housing development, and that's where we will be racing next week in our BP Supercar All-Stars E-Series Grand Finale, together with Mount Panorama Bathurst. Great old racetrack, that one. What a shame we don't have it anymore. And why didn't I buy some of that land?
On Peterbrook Drive.
Yeah. I don't care what drive, I just should have bought as much as I could eat. McLaughlin, Di Pasquale, Holdsworth, 1, 2 and 3. Boys, Coulthard, Van Gisbergen, Heimgartner, Davison and Zane Goddard is in 10th position. Have a look at this group of cars. It's turning into a block of 6, 7, 8 cars or more. They continue to work together and tighten up this margin. Jordan Boy's done an awesome job so far. Tell me a bit more about him, Andrew. He's from your neck of the woods.
Yeah, he certainly is. He's had a very, very good pedigree in karting through the years, and comes from a very down-to-earth family. This is the first of our stoppers, Bryce Fullwood, with the rear brakes very, very well and truly locked up on pit road there. Lights flashing indicates that the 40 km/h speed limiter has been activated. So he'll be the first to stop. Now, it'll be interesting to see what speed he has once he returns on a fresh set of tyres, given that everybody else's tyres, their Dunlops, are 20 laps old now. So back to the Jordan point. Really good young kid, works hard, works within the family business, is in at Image Racing. Terry Whitehoon has given him a a really good helping hand, and look, he's got a huge amount of talent. Came on strong in Super 2 at the end of last year.
Okay, so we're starting to see more stops, including Shane Van Gisbergen, who we were riding with. He's arrived with everything locked up and sideways on the run into the lane. And how about Shane? He has played himself right back into the lead group after inadvertently tangling in the Macaulay Jones shunt. What about Alex Davison in the background and the local legends entry getting crossed up on the way in there as well? So remember, the transit time through the lane here is about 22.5 seconds, notwithstanding the traffic and the wild arrivals. Should be about 8 seconds to get another set of virtual Dunlop tyres on. And out they go in just a little over 30 odd seconds, stomping on each other on the way through. And critical that McLaughlin got out there, I think, in front. I'm just looking to see who's where. Yeah, he got out in front of Anton. And Lee Holdsworth and Truck Assist Mustang now trundling into the lane for his stop. Yeah, that's the rejoin. So I wanted to double check the computer timing to see where they all ended up. So Lee Holdsworth into the lane now. Jordan Boys in. David Reynolds is temporarily the leader as the rest of the field do their thing to take their stop much later than we were originally imagining, so maybe the tyres didn't hurt as much as was originally predicted. Just a little inside, 7 laps remaining. Race number 1, Michigan International Speedway. And you can see where the drivers are dropping in. And this battle between these two has been ridiculous. It's as though Scotty has had Anton on a tow hook and he's just sat him there for the entire run. Reynolds has got some strife going on here.
And this was the car that I was just looking at on the timing screen, Neil, was Bryce Fullwood, to see where he popped out. So he was the first to stop, and it was really important that he was able to rejoin in that pack that he was battling with. If he had have lost some time there and given up that draft, or the benefit of the draft, he would have been the big loser out of that gap. We're just waiting for this timing screen to reset.
Yeah, to refresh. What's interesting here is the gap that these two have now pulled on everybody. So that's the biggest margin that we've seen all evening so far. So that's a huge chunk of time.
Yeah, given that they were in that group that came onto pit lane together, I can only imagine that they got out of pit lane that little bit better than everybody else to be able to get this gap. These two clearly are the class of the field tonight.
And I think congestion in the lane probably is part of that story, because there was a whole lot of people ducking and diving and sliding awkwardly in, so that might have contributed to it. We'll have a bit of a look at where your favourite drivers are parked in the field at the moment. McLaughlin, Di Pasquale, Coulthard, Van Gisbergen's done an awesome job. Fullwood, Heimgartner, Holdsworth, Boys. Shane's moved up another spot over Fabian now, so that brings him on to the virtual podium. Holdsworth, Boys, LeBrock, Jacobson, that's the 10. Aaron Seaton is just outside. Christian Lundgaard is up into 12th position, and he's racing from Enstone tonight, the Renault's Formula One headquarters, and he's a big story in his own right. When you stop and look at his remarkable career, he's done some incredible things. He's in the Castrol BP Ultimate entry this evening. He's 18 years of age, Danish driver, and already has serious credentials, and he's part of the Renault Sport Formula One Driver Academy, and it's his 4th year in that group, so tagged for very big things. So Kelly Racing have brought him into the fray tonight. He's done some pretty cool e-racing already and has developed a friendship with Andre Heimgartner. So this is an interesting situation with Van Gisbergen, millimetre by virtual millimetre, dragging himself back to this lead group. There's 3.5 laps remaining. Is he going to be able to make up that gap? McLaughlin is the leader over Anton Di Pasquale. But the speed that Shane is showing, last lap, Andrew, he did a 39.8 and Scotty did a 40.1. So he's pulling a third of a second with every passing lap as Anton now starts to threaten.
And he really needs all those guys around him at the moment, Van Gisbergen, to huddle around the likes of Coulthard, Holdsworth, Boys, and actually work with him. As a pack of 5, they'll be much faster than McLaughlin and Di Pasquale out in front, but he needs that help, and I don't feel like Coulthard or Holdsworth can go with Van Gisbergen at the moment. He's in a bit of no man's land there.
Can you imagine the view on Anton's screens at the moment? He'll have an eyeful of all the signage on the back of Scott's car. Incidentally, when you see what looks like your picture shaking, don't kick your television at home, folks. iRacing have actually put an update into the game, and when the cars are going past, some of the camera positions are actually shaking the virtual camera stands. Believe it or not.
It's very cool. We liked it. It's been an update since Charlotte. The bit I'm watching here is Van Gisbergen with 1.5 laps left. He's just got it close enough to those two guys up ahead where he is going to really be enjoying the benefit of this draft here. Look how quickly he's coming up onto the back of Di Pasquale. Interesting to see that Van Gisbergen is running the low line here.
Traffic could be a factor, and I think that's Caruso up on the right-hand side in the second of the Monster Energy cars, so that could be part of the story. So this is the run to the flag. We're riding with Van Gisbergen, who continues to make an unbelievable charge. Di Pasquale's got his nose up the inside on McLaughlin. Can you believe the performance of Van Gisbergen? He was out of the game 10 or 15 minutes ago, and he's back in there. Di Pasquale's got control of this. We're almost done. We're on the last lap. And Van Gisbergen makes a lunge down the inside for the lead. They are 3 wide. Van Gisbergen, Di Pasquale and McLaughlin. As it is in reality, it plays out virtually. These 3 are unbelievable. And Van Gisbergen has gone to the lead in the Red Bull Holden Racing Team car. Shane Van Gisbergen has come from absolutely nowhere after a shunt, and he might grab this one, and he has. Van Gisbergen has won that race from Anton Di Pasquale and Scott McLaughlin. A knockout race, unbelievable recovery.
That was unbelievable from Shane Van Gisbergen. The timing to be able to run up onto those guys in McLaughlin and Di Pasquale just on the exit of the final corner, take the lead. That was brilliant.
Yeah, that was cool. How's that? So I think when I looked at him on the computer timing in recovery at one point, he was down in 12th or 13th position, and he's managed to squeak home by 0.12 of a second, and he had pace. So his best was a 39.7, but his consistency was ridiculous. So there's the updated timing now. So 0.59, Shane over Scott actually in second. So it's different to what I saw. In fact, it is different to our computer timing here, but anyway. Anton Di Pasquale, Lee Holdsworth, Jordan Boys, Fabian Coulthard, Bryce Fullwood, Jack LeBrock, Aaron Seaton next, Andre Heimgartner heading up the next queue. Now, remember, Chaz also got involved in one of those shunts early in the game. We saw him pole vaulting into the Never Never at one stage. Mark Winterbottom, Christian Lundgaard in his very first ever supercar appearance in the E-Series, Mad Mike in 23rd, and David Reynolds, Zane Goddard further behind. So, Koala highlights. There's a few of these. Have a look at some of the shunts early on in the game. Take us through some of this stuff, Andrew. It's pretty wild.
Well, it was a pretty quiet start here, but the guy that got the best run was Di Pasquale there in the Penrite entry, all the way around the outside of Hazelwood. And how much speed did he have on the first approach up the back straight? Little tap to Scott McLaughlin to say, I'm here. And once he made that connection, he didn't let go of it for about 4 or 5 laps. Nose to tail with those two guys.
Todd Hazelwood, big recovery. Then I think that was a torpedo punt over the top of everybody, and then, I don't know, there's more cars flying in every different direction. Splinters, I think they are. So Van Gisbergen ends up tripping over Macaulay Jones, who got loose, and then there was another 3 or 4 cars that were involved in that. Jack Smith was one of them, Rick Kelly pointing in the wrong direction. I saw Nick Percat's colours in the background there as well. And on several occasions, right up high in the grey, there were people that were only barely getting away with it. Lee didn't. He actually did the angle grinder trick up there at one point.
Yeah, it almost looked like there was a bit of a cushion evolving. You could just see on the dark edge of the road there, people were trying to run up there, use the left foot and hold themselves as high as possible. Lee overstepped that mark a few times.
So great run to the flag. And can you believe that Van Gisbergen was able to get back from that? And I heard in the background that McLaughlin may have actually coughed and run out of fuel at the back end of that, but he got pipped at the post, ironically, by his arch rival Shane Van Gisbergen, who's just been unbelievable, hasn't he? When you look at the number, he's had 16 podiums, he's had now more wins than anybody else by a huge chunk, Jess, and to come back from where he did in the midfield then is pretty special.
What a recovery. We'll speak to Scotty McLaughlin and find out exactly what happened at the end of that race in just a second. But first, let's cross to Shane Van Gisbergen for our Cooper's live chat. He is our race winner for race 27. Hey, Shane, congratulations. Welcome home to Aussie. I know you'll be happy to be back because it means we're going real car racing really soon. What a recovery. Talk to us about that massive moment with Macaulay Jones and then how you managed to weave your way back through the field to take out that one.
Well, firstly, it's not home. New Zealand's home, but yeah, good to be back in Australia. But man, awesome race. Like this oval pack racing is just a lot more enjoyable than what we thought. And man, that battle at the end was awesome. So I was a bit worried with Macaulay. I could sort of see him sliding up every time, and then he eventually hit me. I thought it was going to happen, but yeah, that big comeback, I think we were 16th or 18th, so to come back from there was awesome. But yeah, racing with everyone up front is really cool.
It was an epic finish. Well done. Good luck in the next one. Let's talk now to Scotty McLaughlin. What happened, Scotty? Did you run out of fuel?
I ran out of fuel, Jess. You would have thought. I've done it a few times in my career, and I can add it to my E-Series career as well. So, no, it was one of those things where it just, like Shane said, it was an awesome battle. Just like, yeah, we just run to the line. We had a really good run. My engineer thought I was a little bit faster on the outlap than he thought, so he didn't put enough fuel in. So he's in the doghouse for that one.
Well, it's meant that Shane's edged that little bit further ahead of you. 146 points between you in the championship coming into this one. We're right down to the business end of the E-Series. What are you going to do to keep a hold on him over the next couple of races and certainly into next week?
Has Beto got a job tonight, or is it fair game?
Yes, exactly. That's what we want to hear.
No, all good. We'll go have a bit of fun. But look, he's been so fast. He's always fast on this thing. I said it from the start. So looking forward to the last few races. It's going to be fun, but we'll see what.
Well, you need your wits about you. The next race is reverse grid. Good luck. Have fun. We'll talk to you a little bit later.
Thanks, team. Appreciate it.
All right, it's time for a quick break as we reset for more racing. This is the perfect time to refuel thanks to Mac Delivery. Get all your Macca's favourites delivered straight to your door, contact free. We'll be back right after this.
Have you always wanted to be a Supercars commentator? Well, now's your chance thanks to Shaw, presented by Jans. Head to the Supercars Facebook page tomorrow and post a video of yourself commentating over the supplied vision on Facebook or Instagram with the hashtags Commentate the Stars and VASC for your chance to win. The BP Supercars All-Star E-Series is proudly brought to you by Mrs. Max. Refuel with a Mrs. Max. Go.
When you need refueling fast, you can rely on Mrs. Max. Tasty, easy, speedy. If it's not a Mrs. Max, take it back.
Hi, my name's Bert, and I'm a big fan of the supercars.
Huge damage!
It's my job to make sure everything's clean. It's pretty easy to keep things clean while the drivers are working from home. Oh, Rick, you're getting crumbs everywhere. It's a lot easier to clean things up in the E-Series.
Push of a button, he's back in pit lane.
Still, not as easy as keeping your engine clean using BP Ultimate.
Black Duck seat covers are bred for adventure. We're a family-owned company making Aussie-made seat covers. Our range of high-quality materials provides strength, performance and comfort. Perfect for all those Aussies who work hard and play harder. Black Duck seat covers can handle everyday adventures. Put them to the test. Get yours today from one of our trusted resellers nationwide or visit blackduck.com.au for more information.
My passion for cars began when Nana and Pop bought their new Toyota Crown. It was Nana's, really. She loved that car. We went everywhere in it. My passion now is just the same, even though my cars are a little different. I've still got Nana's car, couldn't part with it. And I reckon if she was here today, she'd be insured with Shannon's too.
Call Shannon's on 13 46 46. Shannon's, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.
The BP Supercars All-Star E-Series is proudly brought to you by Mrs. Max. Refuel with a Mrs. Max. You can support your favourite team or driver during the BP Supercars All-Stars E-Series. Purchase your Supercars Championship or team merchandise today. Head to supercars.com/merch.
Welcome back to round 9 of the BP Supercars All-Stars E-Series. Buckle your seatbelts. We're racing at Michigan. This next one is set to be wild because it's reverse grid. Let's get all the vital considerations for race 28 as we dive into the Hino Hub with Neil.
So based on the results of our last race, we flip them all around now and resort the grid in reverse order, which is always going to be entertaining. There will be guaranteed shunts. Another compulsory stop, 75 points to win. The weather's the weather. And this one is interesting once again because, remember, they start with 65 litres, but they need about 69, give or take. And so you saw what happened to Scotty when they didn't take everything on board there. So Aaron Seaton, car number 66 for Repco. Dick Johnson Racing Team Penske, son of Glenn Seaton. Mad Mike joins us tonight. A drift sensation. It'd be something different for him, Andrew, to actually have to drive straight. Nick looks really enthralled, so does Nelson. So Mad Mike having to actually stay straight and not end up sliding everywhere would be a whole new discipline for him.
There's plenty of guys out there during that race that were doing a fair bit of sideways style, so Mad Mike would have been the one that felt very, very confident in that situation.
Truck Assist starting grid, we'll have a look how they line up now. Remember, it's reverse order based on the results. In our final race this evening is going to be cumulative points. And so we've got Rick Kelly, followed by Jamie Whincup off the front row of the grid, together with Michael Caruso and Chris Pither. We saw a little glimpse of Michael in the background with the green wheels on the Monster Energy car. James Courtney and Macaulay Jones, who was a bit unlucky to crank himself sideways and get nailed. Zane Goddard and Mad Mike next in the queue, 7th and 8th. David Reynolds and Christian Lundgaard in car number 10 for BP Ultimate and for Castrol. Mark Winterbottom for Irwin Racing. Nick Percat for Corgas and Brad Jones Racing out of position number 12. 13, Jake Kostecki, Todd Hazelwood in the Brood entry in 14th. The NTI car has been pretty quick so far this evening. Cam Waters, Monster Energy, and Jack Smith for SCT. Scott High in the DeWalt car, 17. Will Davison for Doric out of 18. Local legends Alex Davis and Chaz Mostert a shunt in that last one. Position number 20 on the grid. Andre Heimgartner and Gary Jacobson, 21 and 22. And Aaron Seaton in the Repco car looks pretty cool, doesn't it? Jack LeBrock, Super Cheap Auto Racing, so a couple of Mustangs side by side. Bryce Fullwood and Fabian Coulthard next, followed by Jordan Boys, fantastic on debut in the E-Series. Lee Holdsworth very quick again this evening for the 3rd week in a row. Anton De Pasquale and Scott McLaughlin, who looked like they were joined at the tow bar for most of that race, and the fast finishing Shane Van Gisbergen, who had astonishing pace. So we're looking forward to this one. Once again, it is going to be 28 laps, time certain 22 minutes, and they go out behind the safety car. Maybe it should be called the pace car. 7-time Supercars champion Jamie Whincup and a Bathurst winner, together with Rick Kelly, former Bathurst winner. Why are we racing in Michigan, Rick? And there is Jamie, car number 88, Red Bull Holden Racing Team. Looking forward to this one, Andrew?
I certainly am. Yeah, absolutely. You made mention of Jordan Boys there. He was the fastest guy in that last race with the 39.5, slightly faster than the guy that charged back through the pack, Shane Van Gisbergen. Now, he's literally in that previous race done exactly what we're going to do here. So he'll be the guy to keep an eye on. This is Jordan Boys in the Dunlop Super 2 entry, number 49. Some Joss construction support. Local Albury company. There he is, down in the bottom right-hand side of the screen. Jordan Boys, really, really likeable young lad.
So he's going to start out of position number 27, and he's back there with Fabian Coulthard. So we've got Rick Kelly up the front in the Castrol Mustang. Jamie Whincup is up on the outside of him. Michael Caruso, the green wheels on the Monster Energy Mustang as the pace car pulls low. Set for a start now. The 28th race in the sequence of the BP Supercars All-Stars E-Series, and Rick Kelly leads them away under green in the Castrol Racing entry for Kelly Racing. Momentarily vanishes, reappears at turn 1 in the lead from Jamie. Michael, James Courtney in the boost entry is in position number 4. Zane Goddard, Chris Pither, Paulie Jones and David Reynolds are at it. So they're going to run 3 wide, maybe even 4 wide as they make their run up the back straight for the first time. 300 kilometres an hour on virtual cold tyres. Trouble into 3.
So that looks like Percat and Mike Widdett making contact in a straight line up on the run to turn 3. Widdett, though, was able to get down off the fence. Amazing here, Neil, this shot where we're tracking the group. You can just see how much car movement there is up and down the circuit, looking for some free space, working out how to use that toe effectively to get by the car ahead of you. That's a really cool shot.
I'd like a ride in that chopper. Kelly from Caruso, Whincup, Courtney, Macaulay Jones. That's the top 5 at the moment. And you're going to see some action as several of the quicker cars from back in the pack start to mix it up and find how they can thread their way through. Aaron Seaton's in the Repco car. He's tucked in behind Shane Van Gisbergen, and Mad Mike in behind him, car number 123 for Red Bull.
Lee Holdsworth there, still running that really high line. Speaking of the high line, there's a few people up in the air there. I saw Macaulay Jones was involved in that. Jordan Boys, was that Chaz Mostert as well in the background?
I think so. So there are a good 4 or 5 cars involved in that shunt. Macaulay Jones, unfortunately, was one of them. So Whincup's our showing as the leader up on the outside, and down the middle, splitting the pack, is David Reynolds. Right down low at the bottom of the circuit is Michael Caruso. The Castrol cars tag, and around goes Christian Lundgaard and Mad Mike. Ouch.
So that looked like James Courtney set that one off. It looked like his internet glitched a little bit, and as it came back on and the car entered back into the race, he made contact with the back of Lundgaard, which sent him into Rick Kelly. Either way, they all ended up in the fence.
And that was an awkward moment between virtual teammates there a moment ago. And more trouble, and this time it's Kostecki who gets pitched onto his roof. And he's got the full Ricky Bobby going here. That went on for about 300 metres. You are not on fire, Jake Kostecki.
You had to do it, Neil. You missed your opportunity for boogity, boogity, boogity at Charlotte.
Yeah, maybe for the third one. See how silly I feel.
I was more surprised, other than your comment, Kostecki not actually running into anybody as he flipped through the air either. Both were very well played. Try and contain ourselves here for a minute.
Whincup, Reynolds, Caruso, Waters. Will Davison's now moved up. Cam Waters has got some pace here as well. We're riding with Cam. Talked before about his consistency, Andrew, coming into tonight, 3rd in the championship, 16.89. He's had a win. He's had 6 seconds. He's had a 3rd. He's had 17 top 5s and 21 top 10s. That is consistency. It's been unbelievable.
Absolutely. It's been a really, really good run by Cam Waters. He is very strong in this E-Series. I did hear an article when he was on a podcast and he was chatting about his time spent on simulators. He's had one for many, many years. And back in his Dunlop Super 2 days, used to get on the simulator before each event. So he has actually spent quite a bit of time on this platform, and it's showing. His consistency has been brilliant throughout the whole BP Supercars All-Stars E-Series.
Lap number 6 of 28, and this is our 2nd race at Michigan International Speedway in twilight conditions this evening. And just while we wait to see how this unfolds, a great opportunity to jump into the bunker in Queensland with our regular Virgin Australia Supercars Championship Driving Standards Advisor Craig Baird. It's a very good evening to you, kind sir.
How are you guys? All right. We're just, you're probably wondering why I'm not handing out penalties so much, but we're in America. We're letting it sort of flow on a little bit. And with the damage mode off, you can see that the fight back that Shane had in the last race, he got taken out early, but still came back to win it. So I think the sort of free-flowing, let it play on as we're talking, this car's upside down, but we're just letting it sort of play out a little bit more on the ovals.
There's a bit of free-flowing action going on there for Todd Hazelwood at the moment. Thanks, Beardo. Nash Morris in the background as well. So free-flowing for us, not so much fun for Todd in the Brute entry. So he was doing a bit of wheel work to get that thing back under control. But the good news is, at the touch of a button, you're back in business.
Yeah, and I think the American version of it in NASCAR is let the boys have at it, I think is how they talk about it. It basically is go racing as hard as you want, and you can sort it out on the track. And at the moment, these guys are all certainly sorting it out on the track. We're seeing some brilliant racing racing, particularly at the front of the field here. So this is Whincup now. It's not Shane Van Gisbergen just yet. He hasn't made his way through the field, though he is just off the back of this lead group here. That was Whincup into the fence.
Oh, no. So there's another tear-up going on here at the moment. So every man and his dog's involved in this one. Rick Kelly, Shane Van Gisbergen, Will Davison, Alex Davison. Rick's still got it all going on. And Will gathers it all up and away he goes. So Heimgartner's now got the lead. Heimgartner over Anton, and that's Jamie down the inside. So where did Shane end up? So he just dropped a pile of positions in all that. He's down in 15th now. I was about to say the Top Guns are back in town because they were working their way up towards the top of the field there. BP Ultimate Replay, let's have a look and see just exactly what unfolded here. So was that Jamie that got into the wall?
Yeah, it was. Jamie got high. He went up into the fence. As he came back down off the fence, looked like a couple of guys behind him were jostling for position, made contact. Rick Kelly went around and then caused this chaos. And it was Shane Van Gisbergen that had made his way to the back end of the 10. He was running about 10th. He's lost out about 5 spots in that little incident. Currently runs in 15th.
Yeah, so when Jamie checked up, then they all did, and it went crazy after that. So Whincup leads at the moment from Waters and Coulthard, followed by Heimgartner, Dipasquale, Reynolds, Fullwood, Percat, Holdsworth, McLaughlin now in 10th position. Shane Van Gisbergen checking on his progress is down in 15th position, but even there he's up 16 spots from where he started. So it's not a bad bit of confidence.
And race car drivers don't like being called Mr. Consistency, but look who leads this one here, Neil. Your guy that you were giving the big raps before in Cam Waters.
So safety car has been called with Whincup in control. Do we have a reason for the safety car, or is it just meant to be? This one's come at the behest of dear Lord Nathan, who has invoked the competition caution.
And also because you like seeing Barney wave the flag.
I
so
do.
He's back out here for your benefit.
It's been a while since Barney's beaten that one to death, so he's giving that another crack.
Is that a fresh flag?
It would have to be, because the others all fray. So that's the competition caution. so Pertec Pit Reporters, bail us, please.
Here to help. Now, how does this Vodafone pace car, safety car, I'm not sure what you want to call it exactly here, since we're in Michigan, how is that going to change things? Well, remember, you can't pit straight away, you have to wait for the pit lane to be open. Could there be 1 or 2 guys who advantage from this early?
Certainly, Todd Hazelwood, James Courtney, they've already serviced their 1 compulsory pit stop, so they should jump to the front of the queue, but they could be cleaned up here at the restart on old tyres. So you should see the entire field take this pit stop right now under the Vodafone safety car intervention, or pace car intervention, Chad, because it's the United States of A.
Yeah. So we should see some, or most of, if not all the field just about come in during this Vodafone safety car intervention. And again, the first guy missing out, just like it was at Interlagos, Cam Waters, not pitting, not knowing what the rest of the guys behind him were going to do.
And that means, sorry guys, one more thing. If he pits now under green flag,
turn around in pit lane.
So a lot of chaos. If Waters now pits under green flag conditions, I think he could be a lap down. This is going to be critical for Waters' championship and race.
So big game-changing moment, this one for Cam Waters.
Thanks, boys. Yeah, so he's trapped out there at the moment, and that's probably going to have pretty evil implications for him.
Did the Pertec Pit Reporters there catch an eye on what happened to Holdsworth while they were in the pits there? It was something weird went on. He exited stage right as they were making their way down the pit lane, so you'd have to think some contact from somebody.
He might have got a little helping hand somewhere along the line. So Jamie Whincup is looking pretty good. I quizzed him last week about his performance at Charlotte, and he said it was good news I didn't have to touch the brake pedal there, so that helped the cause. We go back to Melbourne, the boys can update us a bit more. What have you got, Chad?
Who shot the butler? It was car 17. Got it. And McLaughlin was trying to get into his pit bay. Holdsworth was still there. You can make contact in the fast lane. Once you're across that pit apron side, you can drive straight through the cars. But if you're in the fast lane, you can still make contact.
Yeah, you certainly can. And we saw actually in some of the IndyCar races that Scott McLaughlin was competing in. They're all learning on the fly because normally in iRacing, like we said, you can drive through them and they all forget. You can also make contact in the fast lane, as you said, Chad. But this is shaking up the order. So Waters here is going to be a sitting duck. Jamie Whincup looks like the first car in P2, as you guys were talking about. who has made this compulsory pit stop. This is going to be a cracker for a finish right now. It's still half distance to go.
Yeah, and Todd Hazelwood and those guys didn't get quite the advantage that they were hoping for. We're not so many guys coming in. Good news here for Waters. He'll get his pit stop. He won't lose a lap.
Are you hearing lots of blow-ups in the background, Chad? Are you hearing them all arcing up, or are they playing nicely?
They're seeing the funny side to it, which is good. McLaughlin turned around Gary Jacobson at one point. He was worried it might have been a bit of a netcode thing. It's just spotters going, go high, go low, go left, who knows, just trying to avoid whatever chaos they can. Give a couple of the wildcards a bit of a shout out as well. I heard you guys singing the praises of Jordan Boys. He's having a pretty strong night. He's a Dunlop Super 2 race winner. Remember, he drives for Image Racing, and Image Racing is owned by and run by Terry Wyhoon. If you think back to the old Thunderdome days, Terry Wyhoon was a real regular and a race winner back there, so pretty cool to have that sort of Thunderdome experience returning with Jordan Boys. And also Christian Lundgaard having a pretty good steer tonight, the Renault Junior trying his best to stay out of trouble. And again, a bit like Aaron Seaton, he's a bit of a son of a gun as well. Here he is, just 18 years of age. His dad is a European rally champion, taking a bit of a different pathway down the circuit racing pathway.
Yeah, you were telling me earlier in the day. That's very cool. There is Aaron, and leads the points in Trans Am at the moment. And we had him in the Toyota 86 series successfully for a period of time as well. And he works very hard at his craft and trying to emulate what his grandfather and his father very successfully did in their careers. We're nearly set to go. Green flag racing once more. I wonder if I can invoke netcode as an excuse for my world at some stage, Andrew.
We could always try.
Yeah, I'll give that a lash, I reckon.
Aaron Seaton at the facility at DJR Team Penske in Brisbane, and Christian Lundgaard at Enstone, Renault Formula One team in the UK. So pretty cool facilities to be racing in.
Green flag restart now after the competition caution, and Windcup's got control of the field from Coulthard, followed by Heimgartner, Di Pasquale and forward the top five as they cross the line and get underway with just a little under 10 laps remaining. Heimgartner in the Ned car down low, being followed by Anton Di Pasquale. Jamie sat it up high and lost a little bit of ground, washing it up into the grey. Have a look at Bryce forward. Oh, there's been contact and Anton ducks down to the left. I think he made contact with the inside wall. He has. Big damage down the left, and that's costly for him. And he's going to drop dramatically down that order. I'll refresh that for you shortly and give you an update. So Fullwood now has got control for Mobil 1 and Middies. Originally the Northern Territorian who's joined Walkinshaw Andretti United. Now he's getting a hurry up from Shane van Gisbergen. It pays not to lead too early. Coulthard in behind them, then McLaughlin. That's Windcup up on the outside. Reynolds, Heimgartner, Kostecki. There is Shane. Great to see images of him again now that he's back in Queensland. Look at these cars. It's a block of supercars at Michigan.
I love this style of pack racing, Neil, and just look at the concentration on Shane van Gisbergen's face, not blinking, absorbing the information. And just as I say, he starts to blink, always right on cue. But this pack racing, look at it, anything could happen. We saw Di Pasquale get fired to the inside, courtesy of trying to get the side draft from Coulthard. They made the lightest of contact. Now Coulthard trying to get between Fullwood and van Gisbergen for the lead. This is cool stuff.
Amount of time that Shane's also... Oh, that was Heimgartner. Heimgartner tangled as well with Windcup, and there he is with Nick Percat. And does he? No, he does not get out the other side of it, and that was a goal. Went straight between the big sticks. Straight between the big sticks.
He did look like he got out of it, straight out of the circuit and over the other side.
In the Irish Hills. Followed by Van Gisbergen, Fullwood and McLaughlin. Just a little under 9 laps remain. Shane's back in the lead. White wheels distinguishing his car number 97 for Red Bull and the Holden Racing team. He's got a Shell V-Power car tucked in behind and another one on the assault down low. McLaughlin's looking to squeeze it up into third, and he's just done that on Bryce Fullwood. Third might become second in a hurry.
And for all the craziness that has gone on across these two races, races 27 and 28, you cannot fault Shane van Gisbergen, can you? He's had a couple of cards dealt to him the wrong way, and he's dropped back down through the field, and he keeps making his way forward. Pure racecraft.
David Reynolds, he's actually got some pace at the moment. When I spoke to him earlier today about it, he said on a couple of occasions, much to his surprise, because he's been really battling to try and understand it, but he got some help from Anton just recently for his road racing with his braking technique and the braking setup on the car. And he's well and truly in this game at the moment. Is that up high, Scott? Or Fabian? I think it was Scott up in the grey. He managed to survive it. He got back on again. That wouldn't happen typically. Look at this, nose to tail down the inside and the Lone Ranger up on the outside with Reynolds getting the benefit of the draft. That's our vantage point at the moment from car number 9, the Penrite entry for Erebus Motorsport. He might sweep past a few more of them here, Davey.
Yeah, it was unfortunately looking like McLaughlin was all out on his own there with no friends to play with. Everybody else was down on the low line and McLaughlin was hung out to dry. Reynolds was the one that would benefit from that. Neil, you mentioned before Jamie saying that when he doesn't have to brake or use the brake pedal, he's fast. And Reynolds is in exactly the same position, driving these cars using the iRacing platform. The hardest thing to get your head around is just stopping the car on the brake pedal. You surely can attest to that.
First-hand experience of that fun. They were 3 wide there. This is building nicely. 7 laps remain. We're riding with Reynolds. Something is going to unfold here and it probably won't be pretty.
So that was Whincup on the high side there. He's gone down a lap courtesy of that incident and now he's into the back of Coulthard. Coulthard looks like he survived that, bounced off the fence. Yep, he's still in there, although everybody's checking up behind him and there's cars going everywhere.
One of the really difficult things that Garth Tander talked about last week when he was in the studio with us is understanding what's going on in your peripheral vision and immediately behind. And that'll be a real premium requirement this evening to be able to understand who you're racing and what they're doing in order to determine where you want to be on the racetrack. And they're still bumping and grinding here.
And there's different ways that these drivers are going about it. Some people have a single screen. You look at the one there in front of Bryce Forward, it's a curved screen. Some people are running triple screens. Some people are running single screens. And there's benefits, pros and cons either way. We saw Lee Holdsworth before take a really big glance to his right-hand side to be able to look across and see who he's racing around. So you'd have to think he's got great peripheral vision.
Kane Gisbergen from Fullwood, from Reynolds, from McLaughlin, Coulthard, then LeBrock in the Super Cheap cars getting into this game as well. Remember that car number 88, Jamie Whincup, is a lap down. He's down in 31st position at the moment, but mixing it up with this leading group. And he's just been told by race control that he is 1 lap down.
Like those webcam shots of the drivers racing. It's almost like we're taking their helmets off and being able to see what their work rate is like and what their work craft is like. Look at McLaughlin here. He's running those glasses to dim down the blue from his screen, but just watch, no blinking going on, and he's not happy about something there.
There it's going. Yeah, the blue screen glasses, we saw those for the first time last week. He was actually getting headaches, but no doubt spent hundreds of hours in the last couple of months staring at a screen only a couple of metres away from it. And he's got his hands full there at the moment. That's his teammate Fabian off to the left. He's got the hands going again. He's in behind Davey Reynolds.
I'm trying to work out what he's gesturing about, because from that shot there it didn't look like he got blocked in, or he looked like he had somewhere to go, so he's not happy about something.
I reckon it'll be 88 being in the mix is probably what is going on there, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
I know race control mentioned a few moments ago, and there's something going on in the back channel in regard to that. Van Gisbergen's got the lead from Bryce Fullwood. Fullwood's been outstanding this evening. What a great performance from him. They'll be cheering for him at Walkinshaw Andretti United. 22 years of age, mid-May. Big story for him, reigning Dunlop Super 2 champion of 2019 and making a name for himself in the Virgin Australia Supercars Championship this year. That's the back end of Shane Van Gisbergen's car. Can he grab another big fistful of points?
Can Bryce Fullwood get the run on him and get by him? He's showing that he's got the craft. He showed a couple of weeks ago in Charlotte that he was able to time the run almost too well. About 2 seconds short he was from taking the win.
And his best performance so far, Bryce, has been a 3rd placing, so he could be on for E-Series best so far. He's had 5 top 10s and 5 top 5s and 10 top 10s, so he's also been super consistent. Down the inside comes Reynolds. Now Davey might get into this, so time certainty I think is going to be an issue here So they're on the final lap. You can see on the Petters graphic on the top left-hand corner of screen. So this is going to get interesting. 2 miles, 3.2 kilometres to run, 4 corners, and at the moment, Van Gisbergen staring down the possibility of another win. In fact, that was the checkered flag, so it's jumped up at us early, and there was a nice post-race shunt. So Shane Van Gisbergen's actually grabbed another 75 points. And so he just keeps on adding up the numbers, doesn't he? So he came in tonight with 11 victories, and he's added another couple, and there is Bryce Fullwood. Excellent performance. It's his best in the E-Series so far, and McLaughlin gets on the podium once more. So another pretty cool E-Series race, this time a reverse grid. And the next one is going to be longer and even more strategy involved in that one. BP Ultimate results, Michigan International Speedway, and you can see that Van Gisbergen over Fullwood, McLaughlin, Reynolds, Coulthard, followed by LeBrock, Kostecki, Mostert, Macaulay Jones and Alex Davison for local legends in 10th, Lee Holdsworth, Will Davison, Rick Kelly, Scotty Pye, Aaron Seaton in the midfield. Jordan Boys got tangled up a bit earlier in that one. Jack Smith, Mad Mike in 19th, Frosty down there at the bottom of the 20. Michael Caruso is a wild card for us this week. Great to have him back in car number 10. Chris Pither, James Courtney survived that one as well. Anton will be frustrated down there in 24th position for Penrite. Koala race highlights, race number 28 of the BP Supercars All-Stars E-Series. Seems quite a while ago that we go all the way back to Rick Kelly leading them away in the Castrol entry. It didn't take long for the nuts and bolts to fly, Andrew.
No, we got to not even the end of the first lap before cars were making contact with each other. There was this awkward moment between the two teammates, Christian Lundgaard all the way over in Enstone. He wasn't happy, let go of the steering wheel, make sure that as he was hitting that fence, he didn't break any thumbs.
You get a bit of violent force feedback too. You've got to be a bit careful with that. So Todd Hazelwood and Jack LeBrock. Jack LeBrock cannons into Scott Pye. Scott Pye into Lee Holdsworth. And they live to tell the tale. Jamie Whincup whacked the wall, and that checked everybody up. Will Davison got tangled in that. And so did Bryce Fullwood, who managed to survive it and actually get on the podium. But Wilbur didn't. Alex Davison didn't.
And we questioned this moment, didn't we, when everybody ducked into the pit and Cam Waters decided to stay out when we were under the Vodafone virtual safety car.
And that was the moment that cost Anton De Pasquale pretty heavily. And, whoa, that was violent. Nick Burkett cocking his Holden Commodore's leg to the fence and managed to get away with it. So Van Gisbergen got home again. Ended up being resolved by time certainty, so he just continues to show great class. He's got it worked out on the road courses and on the oval tracks, Jess, and he's piling on the points and looking frighteningly like he's going to strangle this thing.
He certainly is. You know, my favourite thing about our E-Series is listening to you try and unravel those enormous shunts. I tell you one thing we've learnt. Reverse grids equal carnage. That's all well and good in the virtual world, but in real racing, look out. Oh, my goodness, I don't think so.
It would be interesting to see what the boys would serve up.
Not
Might
so
have to
much.
sweep a few back into the trucks.
Indeed. Let's cross to Bryce Fullwood now. He's on the line. Did a stellar job to finish on the podium in that race. His second podium finish for this E-Series Championship. Well done, Bryce. Gee, what a dramatic finish. The oval racing really seems to serve that up. How did you enjoy that one?
Yeah, thanks, Jess. It's a really cool experience actually doing oval. Obviously, the first race at Charlotte was my first oval race. I didn't really do any practice races either, so I sort of said to my spotter, just as we started, I don't really know what's going to happen here, but let's just hope for the best. And I thought I had a fair bit of luck on my side at Charlotte, but we've backed it up here again, so maybe there's something in the water.
Yeah, so what is the trick to oval racing now that you've dipped your toe in?
I've got no idea, to be honest with you. No, it's, from what I can tell, it's all about trying to minimise the understeer in the car and keep the tyre on it. So it's all about just trying to find the right groove. And, yeah, so Shane had it pretty worked out. I had a fair idea going into the race, but he was all over it as usual. So, yeah, it was he and I at the front again.
Well done. Have fun in the next one. Of course, race 29 tonight is a little longer. As we reset for that, it is time for a very quick break. Don't go anywhere, though. The racing continues here in the BP Supercars All-Stars E-Series.
Congratulations to this week's Local Legends winner. You could also win weekly prizes across the Supercars All-Stars E-Series, including your own Local Legends simulator valued at over $10,000. To enter, share a photo holding a Local Legends pack on your Instagram or the Local Legends Facebook page with the hashtag #WinWithLocalLegends to go into the draw to win. The BP Supercars All-Star E-Series is proudly brought to you by Pioneer DJ, proudly distributed by Jans.
Hi, my name's Bert, and I'm a big fan of the supercars.
Huge damage.
It's my job to make sure everything's clean. It's pretty easy to keep things clean while the drivers are working from home. Oh, Rick, you're getting crumbs everywhere. It's a lot easier to clean things up in the E-Series.
Push of a button, he's back in pit lane.
Still, not as easy as keeping your engine clean using BP Ultimate.
Years ago, BSA built more bikes than anyone in the world. Beautiful, handcrafted, proper works of art. Real enthusiasts understand. And Shannon's, of course. Young mixed passion's a bit high-tech for me, but deep down, it's the same. And Shannon's understand that as well. Which is why Shannon's insure our bikes, cars, and now, even our home.
Call Shannon's on 13 46 46. Shannon's, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.
Go.
When you need refueling fast, you can rely on Mrs. Max. Tasty, easy, speedy. If it's not a Mrs. Max, take it back.
Hi, my name's Bert, and I'm a big fan of the supercars.
Huge damage.
It's my job to make sure everything's clean. It's pretty easy to keep things clean while the drivers are working from home. Oh, Rick, you're getting crumbs everywhere. It's a lot easier to clean things up in the E-Series.
Push of a button, he's back in pit lane.
Still, not as easy as keeping your engine clean using BP Ultimate.
The BP Supercars All-Star E-Series is proudly brought to you by Pioneer DJ, proudly distributed by Jans.
Welcome back. It's great to have you with us for the penultimate round of the BP Supercars All-Stars E-Series. Shane Van Gisbergen, the man to beat. He leads the championship and is looking likely to be crowned next week, though we have one more race tonight, of course. We're at Michigan International Speedway. Let's cross now to Fabian Coulthard, who's on the line. Hey, Fabs. Great result in that last one, a top 5 finish, but there are a few dramas in a thrilling finish.
Yeah, plenty of dramas, but I think from week to week we've come to expect a bit of that. But it's been a lot of fun. To start, near the back and to get up to the top 5, it's probably one of the better trips I've had. So yeah, looking forward to it.
So how are you enjoying the oval racing? We loved it so much at Charlotte that we've got it all night tonight. How tricky is it, and how does strategy play a part in it?
Yeah, I'm enjoying the oval racing. It meant that we only had to learn one track this week, which was nice. But it's a little bit of strategy. Obviously, placing a car in the right place and things like that, and trying to stay out of the carnage. It's pretty tough, but it's also a lot of fun.
Yeah, there's certainly been plenty of carnage, that's for sure. Great to catch up, have fun in this next one. Let's cross now to Michael Caruso, who rejoins the Supercars field in the virtual world. He's one of our wildcards this evening. Hey, Michael, how are you going tonight?
Yes, yeah, I'm good, thank you. It's definitely been a baptism of fire tonight. Been involved in a few big shunts, that's for sure.
And the best thing about e-racing is that despite the carnage, there's no damage bill at the end of it, because if there were, oh my goodness, it would be huge.
We probably wouldn't have been able to go this long, I would have thought. But no, look, it's all in good fun, and it's great to be out there and obviously racing all the boys.
So who have you got your sights set on in this next race? Who are you looking forward to banging doors with in the virtual world, of course?
I'm actually looking forward to racing old David Reynolds. We've been talking it up in our messages. So yeah, have a bit of fun, and if I can catch up to Cam, yeah, bit of rubbing doors would be fun with him as well.
Indeed. Great to have you on board tonight and catch up with you. Good luck in this next one.
Copy. Yeah, thank you.
And also joining us tonight, one of our international wildcards, Mad Mike's on the line. Hey, how are you going so far?
Oh, I'm just trying to stay out of the wreck. So I managed to get up to like 5th, but I think it was just because I was dodging flying cars, and I never thought just turning left could be so intense.
It's been really, really fun to watch. A longer race in this next one. After all the experience that you've gained over the first 2 races tonight, what's your strategy? How do you play this one out?
I'm still trying to learn how to conserve tyres. Usually in my sport, we go through about 50 tyres in a race day. So, yeah, just trying to conserve for 28 laps. And I think this next one is like 45 or something. So, yeah, just keep the car together, out of trouble, and make sure I don't take out any of the points leaders.
Now, I know that you wanted to do a bit of racing against Shane van Gisbergen, but he has just managed to weave his way through the field and finish up the front for the last 2 races. He's incredible at this sim racing, isn't he?
Oh, it's like he's got another gear. Yeah, he came through and I managed to I tried to stick with him. But yeah, I just don't have the pace.
Well, good luck in this next one, and it's wonderful to have you on board in our Supercars E-Series tonight. Well, let's check in now with Will Davison, who's on the Gold Coast. Hey, Will, how's your night going so far?
Results-wise, not good, but I've had a couple of cracking starts. So, I've been a bit of a hero at certain phases of the race, but I'm just not quite getting it done when it counts. So I'm having fun, but yeah, I'm a bit annoyed with a couple of the incidents I've had.
Well, you've got one more race to square up. What is the trick to this oval racing in the virtual world?
It's just like positioning. The car gets very loose in the mid-corner, so it's just trying to steer clear of the car in front of you's dirty air. So it actually affects the handling massively. But everyone's doing the same thing, so everyone's playing the same trick. So, yeah, it's really interesting as the tyres go away. You're just trying to get a run off the corners and just trying to time that, time those runs. So it's a challenge, and I don't know, it is actually a lot of fun.
Well, it's pretty spectacular to watch as well. Great to catch up. Have fun in this next one. All right, let's get all the key considerations as we get set for race 29 as we jump into the Hino Hub with Neil.
This one's going to be longer, Jess. 45 laps on our 3.2 kilometre journey. And the things that matter here are they'll get double points. So they'll get 150 points for this one, but they need fuel. Now, some of it gets covered in the tyre stop, where you get 8 seconds stationary to rattle on wheels and tyres, and therefore fuel's going in. But there's another 10 odd seconds of fuel on top of that. So in total terms, it'll take about 40 to 41 seconds to get through. So strategy is going to be really important. You can see where we're predicting the window. That's going to be very much based on who you're racing, the traffic conditions, and where you are in the field. So looking forward to this one, because they're going to have to work together for a while. And if it's anything like what we've seen in the back end of these most recent races, we're in for a ripper. The oval track racing has proven to be pretty exciting. Nelson's going to get in the saddle here and help Nick, who looked like he needed a fair bit of help before in the back straight at Michigan. I'm struggling to find the words. You got anything to add there, Andrew?
I think your face looks exactly like Nelson's just did. Yeah. He was trying to work out what was going on there.
Yeah, I think his looks better. His ears certainly do. So, pole position, Shane van Gisbergen, Scott McLaughlin. Remember, the grid set for this one is based on the cumulative points for the first 2 races that we've had so far this evening. Wandering back through the field, Jack LeBrock and Lee Holdsworth out of 5th and 6th. Jordan Boy's done an awesome job so far this evening. Anton was unlucky in that last one, but he'll start out of 8th. He's got a quick car and he knows how to drive it in these circumstances. Mostert and Reynolds out of 9th and 10th. Jake Kostecki and Alex Davison positions 11 and 12 for NTI and local legends. The Repco entry of Aaron Seaton is alongside Will Davison from Doric, and we just spoke to Will. There's an art to driving these cars, as you heard from Will. Scott Pye alongside Macaulay Jones for DeWalt and for Cool Drive, and then Jack Smith, SCT, and the brute car of Todd Hazelwood. Andre Heimgartner and Gary Jacobson for Yellow Cover and Matt Stone Racing. Mark Winterbottom alongside Cam Waters, Irwin and Monster Energy cars will be together. Mad Mike Widdett from New Zealand together with Rick Kelly in the Castrol Mustang alongside the Red Bull entry. Christian Lundgaard, the Renault Academy driver, position number 25 alongside Nelson and Nick. James Courtney out of position number 27. Michael Caruso we spoke to before for the Monster Energy entry. Coca-Cola entry Chris Pither, Zane Goddard for Unit and Matt Stone Racing, and Jamie Whincup will be out of the final position, number 31 for car number 88, and the Red Bull Holden Racing team. That's the Truck Assist starting grid. So just a reminder once again, this one's 45 laps or 35 minutes. Jack Smith, SCT Logistics car in the background there, and they do have a fair bit of strategy to play out in this one when they stop and getting that fuel on. And we saw what happened to McLaughlin in the last one, Andrew, if you just get those calcs slightly wrong.
And the other point in this race, Neil, is that one compulsory pit stop, 2 sets of tyres, same amount of sets of tyres as the previous 2 shorter races. And as Will Davison just alluded to, the tyre does go away from underneath you. What's that going to do? That's going to give us more chance of a fair few big ones.
Frosty's enjoying his night at the office. And we spoke to him on Supercars Sidetrack earlier this week, and he's been doing a bit of house painting in between times in preparation. James Courtney looks pretty relaxed, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He's driving for Boost Mobile in the Ford Mustang. He's joined Tickford Racing, and I mean, he only just got the entry in late in the game, I believe. Rick Kelly, that's a very cool amount of effort and energy, creativity's gone into his rig. It's evolved in the last several weeks, and Aaron Seaton driving for Repco, Dick Johnson Racing Team Penske.
The James Courtney one was interesting. His hand was telling us he was having a good time, but his face looked like he wasn't having a good time. And given some of the incidents he's been involved in, I'd say he's probably not having a good time tonight.
Jack LeBrock came into this evening in 11th position. Jordan Boys has had a really strong night. Dunlop Super 2 driver, and we're going to see him in action later in the year as supercar racing unfolds. And just a reminder, the first round of the Virgin Australia Supercars Championship is back end of June when racing resumes. Chaz Mostert for Mobile One Appliances Online, Walkinshaw and Andretti United. Cars roll out of the pit lane now in readiness for our final race for this evening. Sounds like a lot of driving, 45 laps around here. It's about 145 virtual kilometres, but remember they're lapping in around about 40 seconds, so they're going to be busy out there. It's actually, the interesting thing is everybody that I've spoken to at the end of these, particularly those that are having a real crack and when it means something to them, when they're finished, they're mentally torched, they're done. They actually work really hard to be able to get the most out of themselves and understanding how to get the most out of the sim. It's not easy, and it wouldn't be easy here, even though we're having plenty of giggles at what's going on, but actually trying to be successful, drive well and get a result's not easy.
No, I agree. Everybody I speak to says at the end of these days, and these race days particularly, because they've done about 10 hours on their simulators during the day and then they go into racing, they are mentally fried. Clouds in the background there at Michigan Speedway. Capacity crowd, 56,000. The stands look very, very full tonight in the southeastern pocket of Michigan State near the Canadian border. About 20% of fans that normally turn up to the Michigan Raceway are Canadian, so a couple of facts. I know you love your facts, Neil.
There you go. Good bit of chat.
Had those ones either, as we wait for the cars to roll around. Get set to take the green flag from Barney, the flagman.
Here we go, final one for the evening, and then we go on to our grand finale next week. 45 lap up. Shane van Gisbergen starts from the pole, kicks it into action and gets underway. Green flag at Michigan for the final time on the oval this evening. Van Gisbergen being hounded into turn one by Bryce Fullwood. Scott McLaughlin up on the outside of him, and then Fabian down low is Anton. Will be looking to make amends from that tough run in the previous race. Jack LeBrock's in there as well in the Super Cheap Auto Mustang. They're just trying to find their way around at the moment and feel out the conditions and who's around them. Where do they need to be positioned? How do you break the draft? Or how do you get some assistance from those that you're racing? And already Van Gisbergen now under pressure. There's a tiny bit of contact out of turn 4 then between Fullwood and Van Gisbergen. Fullwood's already been on the podium this evening, and this block of cars heads off into turn 1, and it's tight.
And we make it through the opening lap without an incident for the third race this evening, race 29. Amazing how many cars, still blows me away. They're going from the driver's extreme right all the way to the left-hand side of the road, just fanning around. We've got a Penrite Erebus car into the fence, courtesy of, was that Fabian Coulthard going to go with? Light contact there, and that's Dave Reynolds. He's gone around and on the grass.
Yeah, I think Fabian also ended up rubbing the wall there at one point as well, so David out of business. Van Gisbergen, Fullwood, McLaughlin 1, 2 and 3. Then Anton De Pasquale in the Penrite entry is in 4th position. Chaz Mostert is in 5th. You can even see the movement from here. They're actually having to work pretty hard to keep the thing straight.
I was just watching Bryce Fullwood's car there, and his interview with Jess earlier was ringing in my ears about, Jess said to him, what is it about the super speedways that you feel comfortable about? And he said, I don't really know, but I'm not sure I believe that. He looks incredibly comfortable here. He knows what he's doing. That light contact on the back of Van Gisbergen, that right on cue, will go on board now with Bryce Fullwood. That light contact requires a lot of patience on the throttle and a lot of spatial awareness from your eyes, being able to understand where your car is and just feel that light tap back through the steering wheel. So this is pretty cool racing. We saw the same thing happening earlier on when Anton De Pasquale was shadowing Scott McLaughlin for the race lead. Little bump. Okay, come on, Shane. Bryce is giving him a push here. This is cool racing. I love pack racing, and I love seeing supercars go to these super speedways over the years.
I think he was out of breath. He was out of virtual revs in a straight line. They're doing 300 kilometres an hour in a straight line when we were on board with Bryce Fullwood, and Lee Holdsworth, I understand, has had an internet problem, and so he's out of the race. We'll go to Melbourne for the Pertec pit report update on what the boys are sensing down there, because Chaz Mostert has just thrown it down the inside and has now taken the lead, Chad.
Yeah, nice move, and he sat there in the duel. Oh, big slide up the track for Mostert. He'll wash off quite a little bit of momentum there. He'll hook up again on the low side. Just quickly, you could see Shane Van Gisbergen talking away in the bottom of the screen. He was asking Bryce Fullwood to not push him so hard. So these two have been locked together, trying to push away from the field. But Shane, via Kurt Kostecki, his spotter, is asking Bryce to not push so hard, particularly in the corners like that. One thing that Bryce is doing, though, right now, Jonathan, is fuel saving.
Yeah, and fuel saving means you can have about a shorter fill time by about 2 to 3 seconds at your first stop. These drivers can't run longer than lap 26 on their fuel load. So what Fullwood is doing here is potentially jumping his rivals by about 2 or 3 seconds on clear track. This could help. If you're running out front on your own, it's not going to help.
Yeah, so for the first time in a long time in this race, we're going to have quite a substantial fill, and just like the real world, whatever you can save on the track, you'll make up in the pit stop.
I'm not sure that Bryce is heeding the message about go easy on me on the back of Shane's car. He's giving him something to think about there at the moment. So he's actually ended up high, Shane, and has dropped a couple of spots. Chaz leads from Anton, Bryce Fullwood. Jack LeBrock's actually moved up now in the super cheap Mustang for Tickford as well. So the lead 3 cars are together. Jack's on his own, and now Shane's sitting up high.
And the other part of that story there for me about Bryce Fullwood doing some fuel saving, what we saw from Scott McLaughlin in race 27 was that when you're in the front of the field and you lead for extended periods of time, you burn a more amount of fuel. Now, 2 teammates coming together in the real world is never good, and in the virtual world, it's not good also. And you just see the body language there from Nick Burkett grabbing hold of his steering wheel and his seat, not happy.
No, he was actually making contact with his teammate Jack Smith there as well, so that was awkward. Anton De Pasquale goes to the lead now. Chaz Mostert on the inside. Bryce Fullwood in there as well. Bryce second, Chaz third, Shane now 4th. This is going to continue the seesaw. Went back and had a look at see where I can find Aussies that have had success here as Mostert now sneaks down the inside. Does that take him to the lead? Yes. Marcus Ambrose raced at Michigan International Speedway beginning in 2008, and then twice each season between 2009 and 14. He had a 5th in 2012 and a 6th in 2013 driving for Richard Petty. So it was a pretty happy hunting ground for him, Andrew. This is a heck of a battle, isn't it? Anton leads from Bryce and Chaz. And the watching brief here for Shane. So the point that Jonathan made is an interesting one, isn't it, about how they manage fuel here, because that'll be critical in the stationary time when they do take the stop. A little bit of it, as I said before, in the Hino hub is covered during the tyre stop. And then they're hanging out in the breeze getting the rest of the fuel in. And actually, it's the first time that we've had fuel really intervene in the total pit lane transit for quite some time.
And if we take this story for the lead here back a couple of laps, we heard Shane van Gisbergen say to Bryce Fullwood, "Can you stop hitting me so hard, particularly in the mid-corner?" Now, a lap later, we saw Bryce continuing to do that. Can't help but feel like Shane has then taken himself out of that race lead, taken himself out of the potential of being spun around, put himself back into fourth here to say, righto, I'll let you guys race at the front. If you want to turn yourselves around, you can do it, but I'm going to sit here in a nice little happy spot in about position 4 and watch you all do it in front of me.
Well, if you play roulette long enough, eventually you'll the numbers will go against you, won't you? So getting tagged as though he was at that time, Shane van Gisbergen, half a chance to end up ending up in the wall. So Mad Mike's had some trouble here. BP Ultimate Replay will tell us a bit more of the story. That's him in the Red Bull car up on the outside, and he makes contact with James Courtney and actually gets away with it. James is the one that ends up stuck in the wall down there. Bryce Fullwood is the leader, Mobil 1 and Middies. See the back of his car dancing around with Anton Di Pasquale behind. Now it's his turn to be rattled on. Van Gisbergen is doing the same to Chaz Mostert. Jordan Boys continues to impress. He's 6th at the moment, right behind Jack LeBrock. And then Scott McLaughlin sitting in 7th position. This is Shane listening. Ever so gently, and then squeezes it back in. Just, it's a delicate operation. Gently with the throttle, gently with the steering inputs.
And that'll be doing two things now, won't it? That'll be allowing Shane to feel the front grip in the car on the way into the corner, but that slow release of the throttle on the way in will also be just slowing down the rate that the rear of the car pops up in the air when he gets off the throttle and gives him some balance. So that's some really, really clever driving. It's cool to hear that throttle and how gentle it was.
This is the battle at the back end of the top 10. Scott Pye with Andre Heimgartner, Gary Jacobson and Aaron Seaton in this battle as well. A nice little block of 4 cars all duking it out. Right in behind them we've got Alex Davison, Mark Winterbottom and Cam Waters. Alex is there, but then there's a bit of a gap back to Frosty. You can see him in the Irwin entry in the background.
The wildcard entry there of Aaron Seaton, the 66 Repco entry. Beautiful looking car tonight. Amazing couple of colour changes from the traditional DJR Team Penske livery, but it looks very, very different. I like it. It looks tough.
Yeah, it looks cool, doesn't it? Scott Pye just squeezes down a little bit there with Alex Davison, bottom right-hand corner of screen, just bringing up the rear of this group in the local Legends Team Sydney car. So we'll turn this into a 5-way battle shortly. This is back end of the top 10 in this group. A Dewalt entry of Scott Pye, drives for Charlie Schwerkolt Racing. Meantime, up the front, Fullwood, Di Pasquale and Mostert, they're locked together. Lone Ranger down the inside in 4th is Shane van Gisbergen. Jack LeBrock is also on his own in 5th, but he's got pressure now from Scott McLaughlin and Jordan Boys. Frosty is sitting in 13th position. There he is for Irwin Racing. He hasn't had the best of times at some of the road courses. In fact, going all the way back to the first event down at Phillip Island, we looked up off the start and saw him rolling down into turn 1 at one stage. So he had a wild introduction to E-Series racing.
He's a Hawaiian island out there at the moment, isn't he? He's just on his own. He's got about 4 seconds up the road on him and about 3.5 behind him. Unfortunately, he'll be getting no draft benefit in either direction, and that'll be a bit painful for Frosty in 13th.
Cam Waters, bottom right-hand corner of screen. Car number 6 for Monster Energy. He looks a bit scary, doesn't he?
Well, we're going to the US, and he's looking a lot like Boris Said tonight, isn't he? Boris Said running the NASCAR rounds over in America.
So Shane's come in, so he now takes his tyres, it takes on the fuel that we talked about before, and he's done it in fresh air, importantly, so he gets a clean entry, clean departure. I'm curious to see where he drops back in. Total time lost is between 40 and 41 seconds. Pit reporters, go Chad.
There was some mention earlier online that some drivers might come in as early as lap 15, and it looks like for Shane van Gisbergen first to blink.
And it's a very short pit time, so I don't know about the pit time you guys are getting. We know these timing screens are random, but 12.5-second pit stop. Can he make it to the checkered flag on this fuel?
So it's going to be a big gamble. He may have to do some fuel saving late in the race to get this home, but at the moment, hard to fuel save if you don't have slipstream buddies.
Thanks for the update, boys. Pertec pit reporters in Melbourne, Jonathan and Chad. It is a vigorous battle for the race lead at the moment. De Pasquale over Fullwood and Mostert. They are locked in combat. LeBrock just behind. Anton's just got this by a whisker at the moment. He's got a little bit more pace here and there, but he's getting hurry up all the time from Bryce Fullwood. So most of the time, Bryce is literally sitting on his rear bumper. Earlier on, Shane van Gisbergen said, go a bit gently on me in this regard, because it was starting to look like it might end in tears. And this has quickly turned into a 6-car battle. Ooh, was that Jordan actually scraped the wall?
Yeah, it looked like LeBrock also scraped the wall, so you get a little bit drawn into the car ahead of you. LeBrock was the first to make contact, and Boys in the background was just trying to carry the same amount of corner speed. He ended up in the fence as well. Thankfully, no damage tonight, and these guys will all be able to race on. Cars underneath them will feel fine. The fuel saving bit's an interesting one. Leading up to this point and just looking at some of the fuel numbers, really no benefit in saving in the first part of the race there. In the second half, I can see the benefit of it. That's a long run for Shane van Gisbergen to go on his Dunlop set of tyres there. They'll be in a world of hurt, particularly that right front come the end of this race.
He's in 23rd now that he's dropped back into the field behind Nick Percat and in front of Scott Pye. 26 laps remain. Shane is the first driver in the group that's taken his stop. Bunnings Trade Power Pass replay here, so let's have a look at Alex Davison in the local Legends car. He's putting pressure on Aaron Seaton, and in turn Andre Heimgartner, and he makes it a nice clean move. It started with the benefit of the draft, and he applies it well, gets down the inside and makes some solid ground. Moves him up into 15th position ahead of Aaron and Andre. How's this for a battle? Just on and on and on it goes. These two just iRacing might have to get some sturdier scaffold bolts for the camera positions, Andrew, because the vibration's pretty fierce.
You're enjoying the vibrating camera as it
vibration.
runs past, aren't you? It's very much a realistic look. Neil, I wasn't ignoring you there. I was just reading my notes correctly. So the fuel saving early on was to shorten the pit run or the amount of fuel that would have to go in during that stop. So I can see the benefit from there. Correct myself, give myself a little uppercut, and we'll continue to watch the racing.
It's okay, it's just a virtual uppercut tonight. Chad.
So the confusion seems to be growing right now. Good that we're looking at Anton De Pasquale, because the chat between he and his crew at the moment seems to be exactly what we were saying. Is Shane van Gisbergen taken on enough fuel? And there's been enough chat as we get, I think that was Chaz Mostert coming into pit lane. There seems to be some confusion as to whether or not this is a 1 or a 2-stop race between some of these teams.
Yeah, and they should have read the supplementary regulations, right? It is a 1-stop race. Some of these drivers are saying...
Will Davison in the background.
Some of these drivers are saying... Will Davison's making a mockery of this, by the way. Great airtime. But they think it's a 2-stop race. The hilarious part is going into this race, I think Shane van Gisbergen said, is it 45 laps? So do they know what the rules are hilariously going into this one?
So typically the last ride of the night, the big one, Neil, is a 2-stopper. So maybe it's catching a few of them out.
Well, yeah, I wondered about that when I saw the stop before. It made me go back. I did print out the sup regs. When all else fails, read the owner's manual. And CPS 1. Anyway, we'll see.
Yeah, it'd be a long, long day at the office for Red Bull to ever get a mistake like that. I'd highly doubt it.
So the reality is, I mean, I guess you can do more. There's nothing that says you can't do more stops, but you've got to obviously complete a CPS in the process. So they can play it the way they want to play it. So how's it working out for Shane? He's 17th at the moment, and his best lap's been a 39.7. The fastest lap in the race belongs to Scott Pye. He's done a 39.4. So there's nothing in the regs that I've seen that limits the number of stops, so they're just going to go about it their own way. And that's what Jonathan was talking about before, with Shane coming in and just taking some of that. You would have to think that at some stage the Vodafone safety car will intervene. I'm surprised how clean this has been.
Given the nature of the previous two races tonight, before we'd even completed the first flying lap of each race, we'd had multiple car pile-ups, followed by secondary pile-ups as well. There was a whole heap going on, but everybody looks like they've calmed themselves down. And is that off the back of a 45-lap longer race, knowing that there was, well, for most of them anyway, that it was only one stop? Are they tyre saving? And some of those guys that were a bit more aggressive early on were the ones that showed their hand and thought that we were two-stopping.
I'm just going to watch it play out and then be really clever with 20/20 hindsight.
It's the benefit of the role that we sit in here, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Anton De Pasquale over Bryce Forward, Scott McLaughlin, Jack LeBrock. Now we've got the vast majority of the field, probably 3/4 of it now, maybe even a little bit more, that have actually done their first stop. So Anton's yet to stop, Bryce is yet to stop, Scott's yet to stop critically, and Jack. And those cars will be starting to become a pretty serious handful now. This will be telling. We'll get a bit of an idea as to what the behaviour is like. This is McLaughlin's viewpoint, and he's hustling here in second. Yeah, what an understeer, isn't there? Mark Scope sent me a text before and said, please explain virtual understeer. I virtually can't, Mark. You can save that for when we come back on air, and we'll ask you that at Sydney Motorsport Park with great delight. Anton's in. That leaves Scotty in the lead over Bryce Forward. So there's still just a little under 20 laps remaining. Have you ever had a desire to have a crack at oval track racing or understand what it's all about?
I thought you were going to ask me there for a second if I ever had a desire to understand virtual understeer. Because you were going to put me on the spot. Oh, absolutely, I love this style of racing. I've said it a couple of times in tonight's previous races. I love the pack racing. I would sit in the early hours of the morning and watch NASCAR. I was one of those people and absolutely loved it. For me, there's so much strategy, and one of the things that I think about this form of motorsport that is brilliant is the races are so long that you can not necessarily start with the best car and the best setup car, and as the sun sets, the track changes, and you've got to work on the fly, and you've got to understand what your car wants in different conditions throughout the night, and the guy that starts at the back has just as much potential to win the race as the guy that starts at the front. And I love that strategy and the way that the driver interacts with his crew and the way they tune over the night. So yeah, I would have loved to have done it. I know you spent a lot of time in America, and did you ever get close to spending some time in this form of racing?
Tested an Indy Lights car at Las Vegas Speedway, and it was pretty interesting experience. But no, your uncle did it very successfully, and I think one of the things that isn't understood in this market, because we've grown up with European style road racing, is the art form of oval track racing. And you know, there have been lots of people. Jeff Brabham was very successful at it. Paul Morris did a stint in Indy Lights over there successfully as well. But most people will tell you that they've had both their best and their worst racing experiences, often in the one day, oval track racing. So sometimes it's the most extraordinary racing and thrilling, and other times it can be highly, highly painful when the cars are a handful to drive. But the thing that's overwhelming when you see it in the flesh for either IndyCar or NASCAR is phenomenal speed. Just the speed of the cars. I can remember going to Indy the very first time, watching Michael Andretti through turn one from the snake pit on the inside down there when the cockpit surrounds on the cars were lower than in later years, and seeing him chase the back of the car, sliding violently into turn one and then staying committed to it. And that's what's going on out there right now. Van Gisbergen is the leader over Chaz Mostert and Scott McLaughlin. This is a wild battle, and these guys are all playing a game of cat and mouse with 16 laps remaining. Fullwood, Mobil 1 Middy's car, up on the outside of his teammate Chaz Mostert. McLaughlin's in there as well, so you can fiddle with all of the strategy and formatting and all the different stuff that they all play with and how they go about doing this tonight, and still you end up with these same guys all in combat. Michael Caruso's getting a big hurry up, fires him into the fence and scatters virtual bits and pieces everywhere. You'll need a monster drink after that.
And that was just no patience there from Bryce Fullwood. He didn't want to lose his run coming out of turn 2, so he just decided to disperse Michael Caruso to the inside of the circuit. Let's have a look at it. So Fullwood in the middies electrical entry. He's going for the lead here, and that is absolutely no patience. That is crack the throttle.
Okay, so Shane's in now for his second stop, and I wonder whether Craig Beard will have a viewpoint on that under normal circumstances. That would pop a pretty significant frown. Pertec Pit Reporter's on the spot now to explain what's going on from a strategic standpoint.
Well, this is an interesting one. Shane van Gisbergen comes in for his second stop in a one-stop race. So a number of drivers have gone for a similar fuel load to what we saw him take on. He'd be lucky to even keep the lead lap. I don't know how he's going to strategize or drive his way back into this one. Jonathan, I think the strategy here was hope for a safety car.
Yeah, and so these following drivers, we've had to write them down. Shane van Gisbergen, Scott Pye, Gary Jacobson. Scott Pye's just entered the lane as well, along with Frosty, Jake Kostecki and Jamie Whincup. We believe they're all going to make a second stop. So those drivers listed. By our calculations, it's impossible to make it on fuel. We were looking at Shane van Gisbergen's dashboard, and he was using about 2.41 litres per lap. That's not enough to make it to the checkered flag on his pit stop time.
Now, why was that maybe a good strategy? If they did catch the safety car, their second stop would have been shorter than everyone else's. It would have been a pretty sweet play, but they didn't get that safety car.
And that's what I was suggesting before, that they were probably hoping that that might be the case, and I'm actually surprised that we haven't seen one, but it ain't done yet. So an interesting battle. McLaughlin's got control over Anton De Pasquale and Chaz Mostert. Jack LeBrock next in the queue, Gary Jacobson. So we've got 13 odd laps remaining, Andrew.
You watch these guys now as we follow Fullwood and McLaughlin. Watch them run through the middle of the corner, and to the point you were making before, Neil, you watch them, the cars are just sliding, and that's when they're at their fastest. These look like big, open, flowing hairpins, but they're far from it. The guys that are really good have got really good feel from the steering wheel, really good sensors coming through the sound from their simulators, and it tells them. We heard the understeer on De Pasquale's car earlier on from the noise, and that's how they use the sounds and the sights to be able to work out whether their car's sliding around. And just look how comfortable Fullwood and McLaughlin look sliding their cars around, as McLaughlin just slides a little bit too much as he picks up the throttle. Lightest contact with the wall, a couple of sparks coming off, but he's able to continue his run following Bryce Fullwood for the lead of this race.
Yeah, so Scotty is the leader. Bryce took a penalty for speeding in pit lane. So he's actually down the order at the moment in 22nd position, if you're wondering at home what's going on there, because he's been a factor all night. And we saw him looking pretty animated with one of the onboard shots that we took of Bryce before. That's the reason why. He'll be frustrated because he's got a fast car. He's already had some success tonight.
And if we do get that Vodafone safety car that we were talking about, that'll allow Bryce to run around and see if he can't move forward. So, yeah, that's an unfortunate one for Bryce. Good pick up, Neil.
McLaughlin, De Pasquale, Mostert, 1, 2, 3. Jack LeBrock having a really strong run. Remember, Jack's been consistent and successful so far in this series in the Super Cheap Auto entry. Tickford Racing, and just as I say it, he gets the angle grinder out and runs it down the wall. So came in tonight in 11th position. He's had a win down in race 2 at Phillip Island, that reverse grid race, but he's had a couple of top 5s and a big swag top 10 results. Now he's lost a little bit of ground in all that. 10 laps remain. McLaughlin, who hasn't had a win for a while. Let me go back and see on my notes here when last spotted him in the winners' victory lane, all the way back at race 15 at Spa for Scotty McLaughlin. So he got off to a very, very strong start, opened the batting at Phillip Island, first race with a victory. But this back third of it has been a little bit tougher for Scotty for various reasons.
Yeah, whereas Shane van Gisbergen's had the opposite, where he was a little bit weaker in the early couple of rounds, and he has just come on strong, hasn't he? We're right on board here with Chaz Mostert. Really good run up to the back of De Pasquale. Look at the concentration levels from Chaz. You can always tell when he's concentrating. The tongue hangs to the left-hand side a little bit. usually gets that out. Always a good sign. He is concentrating and furrow brow going on from Chaz.
Mostert is sitting third at the moment and staring at the part number on the rear wing of Anton's car. McLaughlin's got just a little over a second to Di Pasquale. Traffic's a bit of a factor here now as well, Andrew, and that's something of a challenge. You can see shift lights coming up on the dash in a straight line in 6th gear, in top gear in these cars as well. We're doing a virtual 300 kilometres an hour on the 18-degree banked oval at Michigan International Speedway. If you've just joined us, it's race 29 in the sequence of the BP Supercars All-Stars E-Series, the last of our races at Michigan International Speedway, about an hour and a half to the southwest of Motown, Detroit, home of General Motors and Ford. Ford Performance are based up there as well. Now, Pertec Pit Reporters have been doing some work on their abacus to tell us where we're at with the championship.
Calculators are going at the moment, guys. Just keeping an eye on Chaz Mostert. Anton's dropping back so that the two of them can work together to catch the leaders again. Chaz Mostert's fuel saving, and he might not make it. Now, let's talk championship. Chaz is one of those contenders.
He is. So mathematically at the moment, based on this result, Chaz Mostert's out of contention for the championship, along with Cameron Waters. Anton Di Pasquale will barely scrape in towards a championship challenge at the final round next week. But so far, it's only about a one-race gap between Shane Van Gisbergen and Scott McLaughlin. So this race has really hurt the Red Bull Holden Racing Team driver of Shane Van Gisbergen.
Yeah, so SVG brought with him nearly 140-point lead. That's down to potentially 69. He needs a bit of action and maybe even a safety car late if he's going to get some more spots, because he's 12 seconds off the pack. He's not going to catch him if this stays green.
Thank you very much, boys. And it was a clerical error that's actually taken away that points advantage that Shane had, at their end, just not reading the sub-regs correctly. We would assume coming in and their strategy being very open to go 2 stops where everybody else was 1. So very interesting play. And for me, I feel like that's what's contributed to this very, very spread out field here, is that some guys have double stopped during this race and then others have gone that single stop. So we've got 2 different races happening here within one, and not really that pack form racing that we saw in tonight's earlier 2 races.
Now, if McLaughlin stays where he is, and that's a big if, or anybody stays where they are in the field at the moment, then he'll be the overall round winner. And remember that Armour putting together the $1,000 for the overall round winner, and on that basis, just looking on the entry list here, that money would go to Camp Quality. So each of the drivers and all of the teams have been supporting that initiative with their nominated charity. Chaz Mostert's viewpoint again.
And so to Chad's point here is that Mostert and Di Pasquale have been working really effectively together to bridge that gap to McLaughlin. It looked like McLaughlin was trying to work with Forward, even though Forward was out of the race battle lead here. And McLaughlin was giving Forward a push, saying, come on, let's get going. But it didn't work well enough for McLaughlin. And now Chaz and Di Pasquale are on the back of the number 17 Shelby Power entry.
And Bryce is going to do what he can, no doubt, to try and help Chaz. Remember that Bryce is down the order in 20th position, and oh no, around goes Anton. Does he recover it? Does he recover it? No, it'd be the answer to that question, rhetorically, and grabs Nick Percat on the way through.
Given that there was no other car on that straight there, he did a really good job to collect Percat. That was unfortunate. It looked like Di Pasquale was going to hold on to that slide. Now, has Craig Baird, is he going to have a look at that incident late in this race? Given that Di Pasquale is certainly towards the top of the championship totem pole here, you'd have to have a look at it, surely, Neil. Let's have a look at this. Let's dissect it.
And so did Chaz move to the right? That angle's a little bit hard to fully understand, but something upset the back of his car. It looked to me as though Chaz just eased it up to the right ever so slightly, and that's sent him. And he's a passenger in the process. And this is him trying to catch it when I was saying will he or won't he, and then Nick will nail him in the middle of all this. Craig Baird, do you have a viewpoint on this one?
Yeah, we do, because we're looking at a podium position here. 25's definitely moved up on 99, so we're going to give a drive-through penalty, 25.
Okay, thanks for that, Driving Standards advisor Craig Baird. Penalty for Chaz Mostert in the closing stages of this one, so Craig's determined that he moved, and that was what sent Anton Di Pasquale, and Nick Percat's gone turtle on the back straight here as well with the Core Gas entry.
very good impersonation as well. He doesn't look like he's going anywhere in a hurry. He thinks it's as funny as we do.
He's talking about a lack of grip, I believe.
Yeah, it's always funny when the Dunlop tyre is pointing towards the sky. They don't offer up a lot of grip, do they, Neil?
All right, we're down to the business end of this one. Can McLaughlin hang on in the battle at Michigan? And there's more trouble. I think that might be Lee Holdsworth sitting up there. McLaughlin's barely got this at the moment from Mostert, who's got a penalty hanging over him. Jack LeBrock might be on for a super strong result. Remember that Fullwood is not actually in this battle, and now Chaz comes in to serve his penalty. That frees up Scott McLaughlin. So Scotty is going to return to victory lane here for the first time in quite some time, since back at round number 5 at Spa, and generate a vital 150 points for his trouble. So McLaughlin gets the job done from Jack LeBrock. And we don't have the confirmation on the minors, and a monumental to finish it with Frosty tangling with, was that Chaz?
And was Chaz out of fuel there? He looked like he was rolling slowly. That was an awkward moment.
There's been one or two of them. So well done, Scott McLaughlin. 150 points. He'll be relieved because, as I say, he's been starved of race victories later, and if you're going to get one, handy to do it when all those points are up for grabs. Jack LeBrock, fine performance as well. I talked about his reverse grid victory earlier in the year. He's also been consistent. He adds to the points tally here. BP Ultimate results, Michigan International Speedway, McLaughlin over LeBrock. Jordan Boys gets on the podium to confirm the answer to the question that I raised, who actually got there in the end based on the penalty. Chaz Mostert drops out of the top 3 into 4th. Hazelwood, nice work in the brute car in 5th, and then Cam Waters, Anton De Pasquale recovering for 7th, so all was not lost in the end. Then following him, Macaulay Jones, good job, Andre Heimgartner, Rick Kelly, Fabian Coulthard, Alex Davison, etc. Jack Smith at the top of the next group of cars. Nick Percat, unfortunately the end with the wheels pointing at the sky. No result for him. Koala race highlights now for our last race for this evening. Barney goes crazy prior to the start of the 45 lapper. Green flag gets him under the way. Gets him underway to get on with this one, and straight away we saw some action. Sparks flying, cars flying every which way. To figure out who did what to who there, Andrew?
Yeah, my call was that Coulthard was into the left rear of Dave Reynolds' car and put him into the fence. Unfortunately, that was very early on and put a lot of damage, or put Dave out of the race, that's for sure. There's a couple of wild slides from James Courtney, and he ended up just shy of making contact with Andre Heimgartner. Was very, very busy on the steering wheels, but it was Mad Mike that ended up giving James a very helping hand and turning him hard right into the fence.
The thing about the high-speed ovals is that when you start having a shunt, it goes on for 300 metres, like Michael Caruso's there.
Unless you get a helping hand.
Unless you get a helping hand, they can be a bit shorter then. So we saw a really good, strong battle with the group up the front. Great pack racing, but unfortunately not a good story for Anton De Pasquale, who managed to find Nick Percat in the process. Nick was enjoying that. I don't reckon Anton was. Even Nelson moved. Did he have a seatbelt on? And McLaughlin gets the 150 points for his trouble, and that's a sigh of relief, and the Armour All round win goes to Scott McLaughlin. Therefore, Camp Quality will be the recipient of the $1,000 worth of Armour All cash. Thanks to Armour All for their great support of that. And well done, Scotty McLaughlin. Everybody, Shell V-Power Racing in virtual terms can be pleased with that one, Jessica.
Indeed, and it now goes down to the wire, doesn't it, as we get set for the BP Supercars All-Stars E-Series finale next week. We head to 2 of the great tracks here in Australia, Bathurst, Oran Park, which we love, which is no more, but that should make for some great racing next week. And of course, a champion will be crowned. Who's your money on?
Shane. He's been the guy, hasn't he? He's been so strong, particularly, as you said before, Andrew, in the back half of this BP Supercars All-Stars E-Series. He's just got pace everywhere that we go. But I'm looking forward to go back to Oran Park. It's a real favourite. We used to do a lot of testing out there. It's a great track, great character, and the fact that iRacing have still got it as an option within the sim game and the sim world is fantastic. So that'll be really cool. Bathurst is always good. So it doesn't matter whether or not you're on a BMX bike or in a virtual supercar or any kind of race car, going to Bathurst is cool.
Yeah, and I think going to Oran Park, particularly for the majority of this field that didn't actually get to race there but heard people like you and I talking about it very romantically and how much we enjoyed racing there, I think it'd be cool for these guys to go and have a virtual run at Oran Park.
Well, only 72 points the difference between Scott McLaughlin and Shane Van Gisbergen going into the final round. Next week it's set to be fireworks. Andrew Jones, Neil Crompton, thank you. Great job tonight. And thanks to you at home for your company. We hope you enjoyed the show from all of the team. Enjoy the rest of your night. We'll see you next Wednesday for the final round of the BP Supercars All-Stars E-Series.
The BP Supercars All-Star E-Series is proudly brought to you by BP Ultimate. Clean engine, ultimate performance.
Black Duck seat covers are bred for adventure. We're a family-owned company making Aussie-made seat covers. Our range of high-quality materials provides strength, performance and comfort. Perfect for all those Aussies who work hard and play harder. Black Duck seat covers can handle everyday adventures. Put them to the test. Get yours today from one of our trusted resellers nationwide or visit blackduck.com.au for more information.
Hi, my name's Bert and I'm a big fan of the supercars.
Huge damage.
It's my job to make sure everything's clean. It's pretty easy to keep things clean while the drivers are working from home. Oh, Rick, you're getting crumbs everywhere. It's a lot easier to clean things up in the E-Series.
Push of a button. He's back in pit lane.
Still, not as